So Akash Singh, if you guys don't know, he's a comedian and he's the guy who's like Andrew Schulz's like bestie on Flagrant. He's like the next top dog. And his wife said some things, and I've never seen his wife. I never really thought about his wife. I mean, I used to watch Flagrant a few years ago. I do love me some Boy Bubbles, and I do keep in touch with the Boy Bubbles, but I don't like, I'm not there right now. Like I used to listen to Joe Rogan back in the day, and then I fell off Joe Rogan, of course, and you fell off, you just fall off these boy bubbles because eventually, the liberal boy who's trying to be anti-red pill just ends up being conservative anyways. And you might remember Akash Singh from when he debated Fresh and Fit. Right? And you might think like, oh, like, okay, so Andrew and Akash will debate Fresh and Fit, but Fresh and Fit have they are like enemies basically because they came on their podcast Flagrant and decimated them with the way they talk about women, right? So this is the liberal boy bubble. It's the bubble that doesn't identify with Red Pill or Myron or any of those people, but also like votes for Trump. So it's like a very specific bubble. Now, I'm going to use Jamari because I think he has, Jamari makes content. You probably know his voice. It's very iconic. I'm not like sub to him, but I check him out when I want to know what's happening in Boy Bubbles because he's not red pill, but he's still like not progressive. But the way we're going to have this conversation today is sort of like a queer, progressive, feministy perspective because everyone covering the story right now is like Boy Bubbles fighting each other. So the Myrons and the red pillars hate the liberal men, but the liberal men vote for Trump. So all of them vote for Trump, but all of them hate each other and they're fighting amongst each other. So the girlies are like, hey, Bray, can you talk about this? Because like people are coming for his wife in a misogynistic way. Can we talk about it? So let's watch these two videos by Jamari. I have another video by Flagrant I'll show you part of. And then I want to wrap this into a TikTok I saw from Chelsea Fagan. I know, girl, I keep talking about Chelsea Fagan. You know what it is? It's the heterosexuals. The straights are having a very hard time. And I'm not exaggerating. They are suffering. I have to remember that a lot of the people I end up seeing on the internet are straight. And they are just suffering in ways that the queer community is not. It is bad. Like every single thing they talk about, from money to buying your partner gifts to proposals, there's all these rules and constructs on gender, and it's stressful. So, I have to remember as a queer person who's been gay my whole life that I don't, my marriage doesn't, and you know what I'm saying? Like it is not ever going to be this stressed in its whole life. So let's start with this video. It came out 10 days ago. And this was the beginning, the height of everything happening. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know about this boy bubble because you might not know anything about it. But let's watch this video and figure it out together. Okay, here we go.
So one of the hottest topics online recently has been a stand-up comedian named Akash Singh and some comments that his wife has made about their life and their marriage. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Flagrant podcast starring Andrew Schulz and the man himself, Akash. And as far as digital media goes, comedy podcasts are not really my thing.
I've heard some legendary tipping, right? Like, I remember I was hanging with Rogan once, he drops the car off, it's 100, picks it up, it's 100.
Okay, that's aggressive.
Yeah.
He's responsible.
I guess I just don't find either host to be particularly funny. I really think that Andrew got a career from swinging on Joe Rogan's nuts, and then Akash in turn did the same with Andrew. This guy's actually someone funny as a comedian that I thought for sure he was like Lily Singh's long-lost brother or something like that, but it is simply not true. They actually do have two things in common though. For one, they both cannot take any sort of constructive criticism regarding their comedy.
I'm trying to power through the set, but when I'm done with my set and I see him doing this, that shit, there is no way your fucking left hand is more interesting than what we're doing up here for an hour.
And for two, they were both virgins deep into their 30s.
I'm sure I could get there, but I don't give off the vibe, I think, of the girls like, I gotta fuck that guy.
In fact, it's quite apparent that growing up and even through his early adult life that this man had zero confidence in himself and never really got any attention from any girls.
So in high school it was because you said you didn't look good, and then after that it was...
I mean, let's not pretend that racism isn't also playing a role in this. Right? Like, racism plays a role, the way media talks about people. Like, I don't know why no one ever talks about racism. Like, everyone always talks about, like, oh, you just didn't have the confidence, or you were like a goofy guy, and he was brown, and he was Indian, and like all the other things that make people like, you act like the media was sitting here talking about like fuck boys and from India, or something. Like, come on, bro. And not only that, I have a brother who's like super ginger. I mean, like orange. And I told him, I was like, you would have killed now, bro. But like, I just know his whole life he was bullied to the ends of the earth. Nobody ever thought he was handsome, even though I was like, you're so handsome. Nobody thought my brother was handsome because he was ginger. And it was all the media anti-ginger. Everyone, ooh, redheads have bad luck. Da, 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 da. Shit plays a role in your kid's dating life. Like, you as parents have got to be on top of your child's ability to, quote, get some, because like the world is, you know what I mean? It's all cultural. Now, also, I just want to say this for all the people who might think like, oh, she's lying about being a virgin. You're lying about getting tail. So that's the irony with these bubbles is like everyone's just lying, bro. But nobody's lying just because like you think people are lying. But there's so much pressure to say you're not a virgin or so much pressure to be a virgin that's why shame and guilt are so bad. And that's why we shouldn't be pressuring people to like get some or not get some. Just like, you know, dude, whatever it is, whatever it is.
Hideous.
Well, you're not a hideous guy.
Hey, you haven't seen me in high school.
Well,
Short,
what
fat,
happened?
crooked teeth. I was just like a chipmunk, dude.
And I really do think that this is how he became a living doormat, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. And funny enough, the seeds of this expose of his home life were planted years ago, when Myron and Frogger from Fresh and Fit would go onto the Flagrant podcast. And
See, this is when they had their thing. And by the way, like watching men combat Fresh and Fit's talking points is always nice to see. And I remember thinking like, yeah, this was really refreshing and I'm glad to see it. But it's also like the bars in hell.
It's beyond clear that Akash was not a fan of these guys by any means.
The way I look at it is, you know, you watch them you see them evolutionary charts from Neanderthal to Homo sapien. Yeah. Y'all are the first motherfucker out of Neanderthal.
And ever since this interaction, the two of them have had beef for years, and even the two podcasts in general have had issues with each other. And at
Them tweeting at each other is so funny.
first, I would say it was a pretty even battle with each respected fan base kind of riding for their guys, but lately Myron has been teabagging the shit out of Akash online. And it's really all been possible.
It's because that's how Myron stays relevant. Myron stays relevant by fighting with people on Twitter. He's not relevant, but the way he literally, that's the way most people stay relevant. I don't know how to tell you guys this. Most of your YouTube channels, most of the content creators that get any kind of like actual prominence are either doing it through like major virality, being very consumable by the masses, or making like causing fights with people. That's why I say, please take note that every opportunity I get to make fights or start fights with YouTubers and I don't take it, just know my wallet is feeling it. Just know I stand on principle, but I am losing out on money because that's what it is. Oh, I'm going to battle this person. This person made a video about me. I'm going to go back and forth. Yeah. And then your audiences start like, you know, coming up and then it's your audience against their audience. Now, obviously that energy is not good here. We don't do that here, but it comes at a cost. So just know. Okay.
Because of Akash's wife, Jesleen, as she has pretty much given Myron all the ammo in the world. You see, Akash made the mistake of trying to appear too perfect, and every time he would open up his mouth about his wife, Jesleen, he would paint her as this beautiful, sexy, but also innocent, almost naive person. And on more than one occasion, he noted this story where they lost their V-cards to each other when she was in her early 20s, and I believe he was in his late 30s.
My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Let me ask you this:
wow.
do you believe her?
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe. Yeah. I remember I was just like, what?
I mean, it's almost like the guy had a superiority complex over this V-card fun.
I hated everything about that. I hated everything.
Fun fact, when in reality, he was really just on some Steve Carell shit. And it's quite
Also, what's up with that age gap, bro? Early 20s and late 30s?
apparent that even in his newfound success, he was still deeply insecure from his adolescence.
Oh, they have a 10-year age gap? Well, is she 30 and he's 38? Or is she 22 and he's 32? Oh, he was 31 and she was 22 and they met? I know it's also very cultural for them, right? They had a very like cultural wedding and stuff like that. So I wonder about that as well. Like, were they arranged or was it just like they met each other? Why'd they pick each other? Remember that I think most people are settling. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in a settling relationship. What's interesting is that Myron has to go for their relationship because, you know, Myron's infamously bad at relationships. Everybody knows this, right? So it is kind of interesting. But yeah, that age gap is crazy.
But either way, Akash was still pretty well respected for years, and the problem really didn't start until his wife opened up her mouth. And at first, it was simply about the Red Pill community and specifically Fresh and Fit.
So my husband actually interviewed these Red Pill guys on their podcast one time, and I won't mention their names because who the fuck even cares. But it was so funny because he actually called them out on their shit and their like stupid fucking beliefs and how they say that they're helping men when actually what they say is like really detrimental and damaging, especially to young impressionable men. Because he went at them, the Red Pill guys, like fans, were attacking him afterwards, found pictures of us, and because I'm like objectively attractive, you know, they were saying that we couldn't possibly have got together in a natural kind of way or like in the wild, like it must have been an arranged marriage.
Now, the most ironic part about
Oh, so they're saying it was in the wild, as she said. And Chad said it's like these guys act shocked when they date, marry a young person and they act young. I will say, because I saw some of these clips before to decide if I was going to cover it or not on stream, And I was kind of like, she was like confusing me. But now that I know she's young, I'm like, oh, it's starting to make sense. Like, it's all kind of clicking.
Her call out is that she herself turned to making Fresh and Fit as content for women, where she embodies the idea that women should be constantly treated like spoiled brats who need their every whim catered to by their husbands. In fact, it seems like all she really knows how to do is sit at home and spend Akasha's money. I mean, just listen to how she describes herself.
For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Jasleen. I'm a stay-at-home wife, but I don't cook or clean because I don't feel like it. And my husband is a full-time stand-up comedian, and he buys me lots of...
Wait, is she currently 31 if he's 41? So she like 30? Okay, she's a little too old now. Never mind. She's acting kind of crazy for a 30-year-old. Like, she's acting a little, you'll see. Look at these, look at her, look at where her bubble is, girls. Like, we are not in this bubble. Just for the record, this woman is not a feminist. She is not a progressive. She might be a feminist, but she might be a TERF or a second wave feminist, but she is not a progressive. She's not like deconstructed, okay?
nice things.
And trust me guys, after this, the clip's only how she describes herself.
For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Jasleen. I'm a stay-at-home wife, but I don't cook or clean because I don't feel like it. And my husband is a full-time stand-up comedian, and he buys me lots of nice things.
And trust me guys, after this, the clips only get much worse. You know, it's almost like going from Weenie Hut Jr. straight to Hell's Inferno.
I will say, if you make content just to counter Fresh and Fit, you will start to sound like you're making their points for them. So you have to be careful. You have to make content for you and your bubble. But if you make content to counter the red pill, it's not gonna come across the way you think, right?
She totally comes off as an entitled gold digger when it comes to finances.
How do you and your husband split finances?
We don't. If you want to work, all for that. But like any man that doesn't want to have a joint bank account or isn't being transparent with his account, that's a fucking red flag. His money is our money and my money is my money.
Yeah.
She's Manifesto. She's she's Shira 7. Sprinkle, sprinkle. She's Sprinkle, sprinkle. She probably watches Shira. I always said this whole bubble is unhealthy, guys. Like, if you know my stance, and this is why we're covering it from a queer and progressive and feminist perspective, like, all of this is gendered, toxic, unhealthy, and nothing about teamwork. You know what I mean? It's not about teamwork. And this is why these relationships end up in divorce or in cheating or infidelity. And just a reminder that Shira doesn't care if her husband cheats as long as he pays the bills. She also got with her husband in a cheating situation. So just a reminder that infidelity is not an issue for these women because they don't care as long as they're getting their bag, which, by the way, plays into Fresh and Fit's belief that all these women, all they care about is bags. Like, that's the problem. Like, right? Is that Fresh and Fit already look at this woman and go, yeah, she's exactly what I've been telling you she is. And then she goes, no, I'm different. Not that different. And that's the problem with all of these bubbles. Like, if you live in a world where, like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, Discord said, is she serious though, or is she grifting? I don't know. I think I'm going to take her seriously right now because I have no reason not to. But it would make sense within this bubble's construct because even Andrew Schulz, the way he talks about his wife sometimes, there's definitely like a conversation to be had about expectations of like what a man does and how he shows up and how she shows up. You know what I mean? So I could see it, but that whole idea that I'm a stay-at-home girlfriend, but I don't cook or clean, like this idea is very interesting to me. And I get it. They're super rich, right? They're not making, she's going to talk about this later, but like, this isn't a normal relationship in terms of money. So because they're dealing with rich people bubbles, they're also acting like rich people bubbles operate differently, which they technically do. But what's interesting is that they are buying into it. They are buying into the rich person's life, going to Dubai to buy bags, purses, right? So it is like just remember that like we wouldn't live in this bubble even if we were rich. Like even if we were rich, we wouldn't subscribe to this bubble. Well, at least I wouldn't, right? But there are women who their whole life is spent aspiring to be this bubble. Right? And so that's something that we need to observe, which is why I do fundamentally think it's patriarchal and bad. And also I'm grateful every day it's not my life.
Yes, that's very easy to say when you have no income.
That is actually my number one. They must be generous with their finances from day one.
Oh, I love my wife. I love my wife. Let's go ride a bike with my wife.
And it's just like the best fucking parties, like living with your best friend.
Also, it's like there's
who buys you designer shit.
My wife is objectively gorgeous. Me, no. So that's what you gotta do. I gotta work my ass off, and then every time she starts looking at me and she starts assessing my beauty, I just throw it back at that bitch. Chest pass.
And just look at her sheer reaction.
You know what's crazy is Akash isn't even like ugly, bro. Like, you're not even ugly, bro. Put on 20 pounds of muscle and you're fucking hot. You know what I mean? Like, you're not even ugly. You're just weak of character, which, by the way, is what's ugly. It's his weakness of character that's ugly. Legit, if homie just puts on like some weight, puts on some muscle, boom. Not even muscle, honestly. If he just put on some weight, you know what I mean? Like, that's what's so funny, but he plays into it because he does have that weakness of character that makes men like him feel ugly their whole life because they didn't get that reassurance growing up. Which is why some people think teenagers should date, because if kids date when they're young, they'll start to understand the idea of being needed and wanted by their peers. And that's why some people feel like, oh, I never dated in high school, so like I didn't get that reassurance. Or I never had somebody pick me, or somebody I liked me back. You know, this can be very hard on people. It's very specific. Like, everyone's having a different relationship though. That's not always the case. It's sometimes the case. You can't guarantee that dating in high school is going to be a good thing for your kid or not a good thing for your kid. So but it's an interesting conversation to have, you know?
Action to Akash surprising her with an upgraded wedding ring recently.
First of all, I want to say, happy birthday. All of this is possible because you told me I could do anything that I wanted.
With him also saying that he now wanted to renew their vows in India in front of their families, and just pay attention to what her main focus was in this clip.
Will you be Disney and sing forever again?
Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god! How big is this? Thank you so much! What do you say? This is so...
Courtney Mustard. You were sitting in her lap.
Now, clearly she was not...
Now, obviously, they're capitalists as well, so that obviously is not interesting to us philosophically. Like, we don't care about diamonds or rings or anything because, like, it just contributes to, like, less good. Also, she's infamously known for never kissing him on the mouth, and I do not know if that's because she does not want him to smear her lipstick, or maybe he's sensitive to the texture. Like, I don't kiss my partner when I have lipstick on because, like, you know what I mean? But it's always when they're in public, and I wonder if that's a part of it. But, like, I don't kiss my partner on the lips when I have lipstick on. Because, like, why would they want lipstick on their lips? There's, like, a sensory issue. And also, like, I just put it on, so I'm about to, like, wipe it on your face. But if I want to kiss my partner, I take off my lipstick and I kiss them. So maybe it's something like that, but looks really bad in public. But they do it every time. Like, every time. So then it looks really bad in a collage where you're like, is this like, do you not kiss this man on the mouth? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Moved by their rededication of their love to each other. Hell, she even dodged that poor motherfucker's kiss.
Marriage is much better for women. It literally starts with a man getting on his knees begging you. But is that enough? No.
According to chat, she said it's a PDA issue. It might be like some people are deeply embarrassed, have a lot of issues around affection in public, but that's interesting because she's got quite a mouth on her. But I could see that. I could see her having like a mouth that I was like, oh, because she is not in any way submissive. Like, I would say this woman is very not submissive, right? But then she might have PDA issues, which is valid and a thing, right? Like, that could be a thing.
Also get an exquisite piece of jewelry. 3 paychecks, that's what she told me. 3 on a finger.
And I just know for a fact that she is the type of chick to require a blood diamond over a lab grown, all because she needs to walk around feeling supreme to other people. You know, she wants to feel that slave labor on her finger. And Akash actually makes another fatal mistake here of encouraging.
I mean, I don't know how to tell you guys this. The world is an incredibly greedy, unethical place. I'm not surprised that she might be like this or he might be encouraging it. Like, in this bubble, I think they are those people. So, you know what I mean? But that is so interesting to me that Fresh and Fit feel like they have any ground to stand on when they are literally all about like making money and being capitalistic and like being rich and going to Dubai. So like, where the fuck are they criticizing them? You know what I mean? But okay.
Her to have a TikTok and podcasting platform.
Who was your first girlfriend?
I had one in college.
Subject.
Now for him, this was really the beginning of the end, as she would start oversharing quickly.
Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. The top like 4 songs when I came back for my sophomore year, Click, Pop That, Bands Make Her Dance, Birthday Cake, the 2 Chainz. I was popping my pussy and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through. So it's like, ugh.
And it's just hilarious.
First, no sex shaming. Second, I hope I don't know what that means because she said she was a virgin when she got married. So popping that pussy just means twerking and dancing. You know what I'm saying? when she says I'm nostalgic for college, yeah, that's just immaturity. Most people who say I'm nostalgic for high school or college, you're just deeply immature, which she seems to be. Okay. I don't know if that means she was getting laid, because if she was a virgin when she got married, but also like, I'm not sure if she's like also trolling the internet, because that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know if she's trolling Fresh and Fit in that bubble. I don't know if they think it's funny and they talk about it behind the scenes. I don't know what she's trying to say. Maybe she just misses being a party girl, right? So, okay, whatever. Okay, I don't know this girl. I don't know.
Because Akash acted like he found this diamond in the rough, like she was some pure angel sent down from heaven, when it turns out she was the total opposite.
I was popping my pussy.
Okay, popping your pussy to me means twerking. Am I stupid? Like, I've never heard that. I've never heard popping my pussy in relation to getting laid. Right? Isn't she talking about dancing? Am I stupid? Like, I guess I'm confused maybe what that means. I always thought that meant like dancing.
In these white boy frat houses.
I met this guy on Tinder. This was before Bumble or Hinge. Like, this was like in the OG days of the app. And this guy, I made the dumb mistake of letting him sleep over, like not really wanting to fucking hook up. And I like woke up in the morning and like my asshole was a little sore. Oh my.
Okay, hold up. Does she have, I mean, I'm not judging a body count, right? Like, I just want to make it clear that Brittany Simon is not going to judge your body count, right? So she wasn't a virgin. Didn't Akash just say she was a virgin when they got married? Okay, first of all, we're not going to judge here. No one's going to judge her body count because we don't care. Okay, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out what part of the story is true. Okay, but like, this could mean anything.
And I gotta say, for someone who is already years out of college, she sure does reminisce about it a lot, and it seems like most of her memories involve partying and other men.
So do me a favor, to all my brown girls who are starting college, you actually don't.
Discord said, wait, is the phrasing "I woke up and my ass was sore" was it consensual? Well, that's the thing. She said she didn't want him to stay over, but he did. Is she like, you know, I can't tell because, you know, these bubbles are so not deconstructed that even if it was assault, she wouldn't even process it without therapy or years later. Because if she's already in a bubble, right, that like isn't going to count it. Do you know what I'm saying? So again, we are trying to come at this from a queer, like feministy progressive perspective. Where we're like, okay, what does that mean for you? And that's the problem, is like the Fresh and Fits will just ruin even our chance of having a real conversation. So let's ignore them and just listen to how this girl is telling us her life and just try to figure out what this means, okay? Because maybe it was like, you know, and it doesn't necessarily mean it was like penetration with a penis, right? Could have been fingers, could have been objects. It could have been unconsensual. She could have been, we don't know. And I don't even know if she's saying she knew, right? Oh, Discord said she did say it was assault on the Flagrant podcast. They edited the clip. Oh, so she was like, because some people do like laugh when talking about traumatic things because like that's a coping mechanism. So the laughter can be confusing for people. Oh, so they did. So on Flagrant, because I have the Flagrant podcast up where they interview her and get down to like the details of the stories. So that's why I was wondering like what was the context of this clip? Okay.
Don't have to date the first guy that gives you attention. And when I got to college, I was like, oh my God, it's like open season. And like all these guys are like starting to give me attention and like everyone's being so social.
Now, where things would really explode for Neon's father, though, is when his wife opens up her mouth about her best friend / podcast host husband, Nav. And at first I thought she was actually talking about the pudgy rapper. But no, she is on this man's dick like no married woman I've ever seen.
Would y'all ever have an...
And by the way, guys, here's the dilemma. I don't know how Jamari makes his content. I don't know if he goes back because, okay, the reason I wanted to use his videos is because honestly, like, unless I was making a podcast, I didn't have time to go back and find all those clips and the origins and everything because that's like 20 to 30 hours of research most of the time. And I just didn't have it before I wanted to cover it on stream today. So the reason we're doing a shortcut, but now that we're doing a shortcut, we might be seeing that, oh, wait, is that out of context? Now, most of the men on the internet, I find, they rarely do the context research. So often they won't watch full podcasts. Like when I make a podcast, I usually watch like a full podcast or a full 30-minute segment before I add the clip in so I can kind of understand the context of the clip before I share it. I don't do this perfectly every time, but generally that's how I do it. I don't know if they're doing the same thing because I only catch up with Jamari very rarely. So I don't even know if he just found the viral clips on the internet and was using them and formed an opinion. So let's just keep that all in mind through this process, right?
With your husband. Bria, I'm actively trying to have an orgy because this couple is so fucking good looking and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you fucking see him. His body goes crazy. His face card.
They also might have some relationship to like maybe open relationships or sex positivity, or it might not be threatening to talk about other people being hot or something. You know, there's a lot of context here that like in my bubble might not be a red flag, but in other people's might be. But you know, her talking about other people being attractive, like, isn't necessarily a red flag for me.
Always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband. I just know that Nav's
like, this is her friend's husband she's talking about, right? So her friend is good with it. They're laughing about it. I don't feel like that's that weird, right?
It's like at least 10 inches.
Now, for me, all of these.
So she said his dick is at least 10 inches. So like this, do we understand like you judging this conversation doesn't make any sense to me because like we don't know. Maybe they've all had a foursome before. We don't know their life.
It's crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband. I just know that Nav's dick is like at least 10 inches.
Now,
well, maybe she doesn't know it after all because she said, I just know, which indicates she doesn't know, right?
For me, all of these statements would be grounds for immediate divorce. And no, I'm not even joking. Like, never have I sat with one of my friends and said, damn, bro, your girl got a fat ass. She got some nice tits. Like, that would just be so disrespectful that I would expect any one of my boys to slap the hell out of me for that.
Right, because like, so this guy, he's not red pill, but he's definitely like not liberal or like progressive. So from his bubble perspective, he's like, that's disrespectful, which might be true. By the way, I'm not saying it's always or never. I'm saying sometimes and dependent, right? So yeah, in some bubbles, like very disrespectful. In other bubbles, not so much.
And obviously vice versa.
We're going to have a compound.
Yes.
And me, Nav, Nahal, and Akash are going to be in two like adjoining houses so that we could always be near each other.
And we're going to have a connecting basement where we have dinner and movie nights. And
Akash is such a fucking king. Like everyone knows he's the best husband. And I don't often find men that measure up to him. And like Nav completely measures up to him, if not more.
But for Akash, this ends up being the worst part, as he willingly gets cucked for their audience of less than 1,000 subscribers. And the funniest part to me is that he shows up on the couch with the other husband, Nav, and I expected him to be like this jacked, badass, historically good-looking guy. And funny enough, he's really just like Akash 2.0. He's like his cooler older brother or some shit like that, body language and all.
Yeah, you know, okay, Chad says this guy is definitely red pill. I'm going to be very autistic right now and just be very specific. Conservative men does not mean red pill. Red pill is a very specific bubble. And I say this because Akash himself is not red pill, but people think he is. He's not. He's just not progressive. So he's liberal conservative. Like liberal conservatives might overlap, but they don't like red pillars because red pillars are different, right? Red pillars, like, red pill is like women will never be as good as men. Akash doesn't think that way, right? Like Andrew Scholes will never say that about his wife. He'll make misogynistic jokes. Andrew will absolutely make misogynistic jokes because there is misogyny there, but he would never say like, you know, like, oh, fuck my wife or something. Like he says like, my wife is wonderful. She had our daughter. She's so strong. But Myron and those guys don't talk that way about women. You know what I mean? Myron's like, women get ran through. It's one side open. Da 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 da. Like he doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, you know, women are hoes. Like da 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 da. Like it's not the same bubble. So that's why these communities are fighting. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. These communities are fighting right now because they're not red pill. But Jamari's like Abba and Preach, where maybe they were red pill in the beginning, but they're not now. Abba and Preach stayed very little in the red pill bubble before they got out. But that doesn't mean they're not misogynistic. Right? It doesn't mean they don't have problems, but they're not red pill like Myron, which is, you know, again, not that it's important. Well, I think it's important if you're judging the bubbles for your own sake and others, but it's why liberal men who say all the progressive things aren't actually progressive, because even though you say all the things doesn't mean, and kind of same with like you know what I'm saying? So like black pill is different than red pill is different than, but okay, that's why they're fighting, which is interesting. But yeah, these men are just like, they're feminine for red pillars. But for like progressives, they're like pretty much like a boy, right? It's just like that. Yeah, Chad said, didn't Abba say he paid off his mom's house from clowning on Red Pill people? Yeah, he like paid off like multiple properties, I believe. I think he said he made $1 million from just making fun of Fresh and Fit, if I remember correctly. I think they said they made $1 million in all of their videos collectively. Just so you understand the difference between Abba and Preach's channel and my channel of like how different money we're making, girl. Everybody relax, Jesus. That's what I'm saying. Fighting with these guys makes you money. Bragging, like making your content about like talking shit on people, it really does make money. You know what I mean? And I'm not even mad about it, right? I'm not even mad about it. But you know what I mean? So yeah, once that beef went down between Abba and Myron, it made Abba make so much money. And there's something funny about that. That's like literally so funny. But also, I wish Abba was deconstructing his misogyny. Maybe we could have stayed in contact, but it is what it is, you know? Because at the end of the day, he hated Myron, but stood by Destiny. Until it got inconvenient. So it's just like, fuck, you know what I mean? You burned one bridge with Myron so fast. You know what I mean? We talked about Destiny and you're like, no. It's like, okay. So when Myron does it, it's bad, but when Destiny doesn't, it's not? Whatever.
And at first, they just discuss their home life and the drama over their finances.
But when I tell my wife I'm tired, I want her to say, I'm sorry, baby. I understand. That must be exhausting, buying me all these things. Instead, she goes, so am I. And if I dare open my mouth to go, what the fuck did you do that made you tired?
I went to Pilates.
It's been unspoken, but now we're just saying it now that we're both making content. If it's funny, we're good. That was clearly my wife trying to be funny and watching everyone take it. Because the idea that my wife, she's going to start making so much, you guys are going to make so much money. Nope. The idea that she would even go to the bank to try to open her own account. It's like laughable.
But quickly it is quite apparent that Akasha's wife cannot handle herself around the aura that is Nav.
I love you, but I actually love you and want to all of you.
I mean, just look at the eye contact between them and how awkward Akash looks. I mean, she really almost slipped up and straight up said that she wanted to bang this guy.
He did look a little awkward, but I would say that the fact that she's saying it indicates to me that they probably joke about it. And the way the friend laughed told me that it's probably okay. But look, we'll never know the inner workings of their marriage. If they want to talk about boundaries and consent, I trust them to do that. They're fucking adults. They're like in their 30s and 40s. You know what I mean? But also, like, she married him young. You married her young. To be honest with you, this is why I say age gap relationships are questionable, because you marry a girl who's 22 and you're 31, and then she goes, well, fuck, I didn't get to date as many people or experiment or be with people. And yes, some 22-year-olds know what they want day one, but also maybe she wanted something else. You know what I mean? So most marriages end up settling and or in divorce for a reason. Okay? So it seems fine. I'm not going to like raise a red flag over it.
Can I say this is the best husband I've ever seen? And I'm not even saying that hyperbolically. It's a little annoying.
Now kiss. Honestly, everyone's not derogatory, pretty gay on this podcast. They're talking like if they were queer, this conversation would be so normal. But because they're straight, we're like, hey, what's going on? But look at the way this bro just put his hand on Akash the moment he said this is the greatest husband ever. He said, oh my God, thanks, bro. Look at
Bang
this.
this guy.
Can I say this is the best husband I've ever seen? And I'm not even saying that hyperbolically.
Love that. Love the energy. Love the affection.
It's a little annoying.
And other than the blatant cuckery, she makes it apparent that she is the most...
Like, I think that's nice, but I'm gay. You know what I mean? I think that's sweet. But he was like affectionate. He's like, oh man, thanks, bro. You know, like, thanks for thinking I'm a good husband. You know what I mean? Like, I just think talking positively about your boys is good. And some people talk about it a little differently. So no red flag there. Jessica, Brittany, what's your age limit for age gap? I don't think having a number makes any sense because it's all contextual. It's just contextual based off the context. So like if I'm, 19 and dating a 25-year-old, like I have lots of questions, right? If I'm 19 dating a 20-year-old, I have less questions. You know what I mean? If I am, I probably no questions really. 19 and 20. Well, how'd you meet? I guess I don't know. If you're 22 dating a 45-year-old, I have lots of questions. Once again, I have questions. You know what I mean? If you're 30 dating a 40-year-old, I have a little less questions, but still have questions. If you're like 45 dating a 50-year-old, I have like no questions, maybe a few questions like how'd you meet, If you're 50 dating an 80-year-old, like girl, I have a lot of questions, but you're still 50, so I'm over it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like, oh, like this is the perfect number that is always, it's just like, what is the context? What is the situation? You know what I mean? I feel like I know humans are way too complex and nuanced to put like an absolute like 5 years, whatever. Do I think ideally you'd be as close in age as possible? Yeah, only because of shared cultural significance. So like my parents always said between 5 years. Okay, that's what my parents always said. They said 1 to 5 years. Like if you can get someone as close to your age as possible, it's good. Beyond 5 years of an age difference, you might run into some gray area. But generally, my parents always encouraged us to date within 5 years. Okay, that was what I was raised with. You know, my parents are 6 months apart, but like they always kind of, you know, encourage us to date within 5 years. And so, you know, everyone is different, but you know.
Ungrateful wife to this guy, and as a matter of fact, she does not even want to celebrate his own birthday with him using his own money.
May the 4th is Akash's birthday.
May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and every year
And obviously don't date kids, you fucking losers. Like obviously don't date children, which is really the biggest problem because a lot of kids are married in the United States and I'm sick of seeing it. Boys, girls, 12 years old to 8 to 17 years old, kids are being married off to adults in the United States, let alone around the world.
dread it because I have to be nice the whole day and I have to get him something. Listen, I'm just used to being treated like a princess.
Okay, hold on, let's rewind this.
His own birthday with him using his own money.
May the 4th is Akash's birthday.
May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and every year I dread it because I have to be nice the whole day and I have to get him something. Listen, I'm just used to being treated like a princess all day, every day. So that one day that I don't.
Oh, what torture.
Yeah.
And so, of course, she got a lot of backlash over this. I mean, even the most staunch feminist out here was saying, like, please do not make me defend a man. Obviously, Myron was out here roasting the shit out of them collectively, and this was their airhead response to all the attention that they've been garnering.
But I will say, our haters are kind of really fucking dumb because you hating on us gained me 15,000 followers. That's organic followers. So it's like, you're just giving us more relevancy. Like, we were literally a pop culture topic and like people couldn't stop talking about it.
Yes, your haters will totally make you famous. I'm sure they aren't just watching the house burn down from afar. And I feel like everyone
Jamari, don't even act like that, bro. We all do YouTube for a living. Haters make us money. Don't even pretend like haters don't make Hassan famous. Like if 40% of Hassan's viewership is at least haters, at least, bro. Like, don't even act like a lot of these people make all of their videos from haters. Half of Jamari's content is gonna be from haters, either hating, not maybe him, but definitely hating whoever he's talking about. Haters definitely make money, but it's toxic. It's really hard to like, you know, it's hard to maintain it. And the reason I stopped even engaging with the reality of like being a hater built platform was like, I didn't want to come to work every day and see those people in my comments. So like, I don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, when I cover people who like are mad at me, or I cover a bigger content creator and people come in getting mad at me because of their faves, I make so much more money. Absolutely. Absolutely.
as that dumbass friend who pauses them in the middle of a conversation to say, yo bro, this conversation's great, we should totally have a podcast, you and me. You're right bro, everyone's gotta hear this. And I really think that that's how this stupid ass podcast started. Akash, don't tell me you built that studio, my guy. I mean, straight up, they need to start giving out IQ.
Well, you know, here's the question. Who should have a podcast? And look, we make this joke all the time, men with podcasts or men with microphones. He's doing the same thing to these girls. And I just think like ultimately, you know, I believe everyone should make whatever they want to make, but also I understand the criticism a bit because even I'm like, why do you have a podcast? What do you talk about? Like, but then I say that about everyone. I'm like, I still don't understand why certain people are the biggest podcasts in the world, but who am I? You know what I mean? What am I? Who am I to judge? You know? So I get it from like a perspective of like, I hate these guys, men with a microphone, right? I love a meme, but also like, why do these girls have a podcast? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why do you have a podcast? I'm not even asking because I'm saying you shouldn't. I'm saying I literally don't know why. Is it just like you're wives of celebrities or you're wives of like, what is the, you know what I mean?
Test before they will sell you a microphone. And I'm just saying, guys, like,
And I feel the same way. Do you remember when Trisha and Gabby tried to do a podcast together and it didn't come about? Sometimes I do think people are just doing podcasts because they know they'll make money. Because think to yourself, well, if I can make 10 to 15K to 20K extra a month for just showing up an hour a week, I should do it, right? That's why I do think like sometimes I see a podcast pop up and I'm like, you're just doing this to get money. Which, by the way, under capitalism makes sense to these people and it's fun and they want to be main characters, right? So again, like, I think there's probably some of that in the back of their capitalistic brain where they're like, oh, we already have an audience to jump off of. You know, it's not that abnormal that like wives of celebrity men end up getting secondary jobs and hustles because they do, of course, ride that wave of their husband's fame. But that doesn't mean they also don't have something to offer. It doesn't. Victoria Beckham has this whole thing where like she is not riding, by the way, the coattail of David Beckham as she is, you know what I mean, a Spice Girl. But after the Spice Girls disbanded, there was a time in Victoria's life where she was just kind of like a wag, like wives of, what is it, athletes or wives of like whatever, a wag, is that what it's called? It's like, then she had to like embrace it for a while because she didn't know what to do with her life. But it also like, eventually she turned it into something else. But like, sometimes, you know, in your career, you have to like take a step back and let your partner be in the spotlight, or sometimes it reverses, or sometimes you have very private partners and you never hear from them. Joe Rogan's wife, who is she? I wouldn't know. I've seen one picture of Joe Rogan's wife with their kids, and that's it. Like, Joe Rogan's wife never went on to make a podcast, though she could have. Some people are different. Some people want to do something, some people don't. If Akash's wife was inspired to do a podcast and it's getting numbers, or it's fun, or she's enjoying it, and only 200 people watch, great. Right? But also, she's a capitalist who's willing to wear a diamond ring that God knows probably was unethically sourced. Do you know what I'm saying? So I also don't agree with them ethically from that perspective. But that's not the reason Myron hates them. Myron just hates to see a woman win. Okay, Fresh and Fit just hates to see a woman win. You know?
And someone whose job is online in the fashion that mine is, I would never date an influencer chick, or even a girl who has any sort of aspirations of online fame. It would just be way too big of a liability for reasons like this, and I definitely would not want some—
So this is the misogyny. So Jamari, again, this is not that abnormal of a belief system from a lot of conservative men, whether they're Christian or Mormon or something else. They really believe like their wives are liabilities to their brands. And I can see that being a reality if you don't talk to your partner about stuff. But also, if you're dating somebody or married to somebody you think is a liability to your brand, you didn't date the right person, you didn't marry the right person. But it's actually not that abnormal in these spaces. You know what I mean? Like, think about the Christian nationalists that are like, women shouldn't work. Like, Christian nationalists are not red pillars, but they don't think women should work or vote. These are different brands of misogyny, right?
Someone who sits at home all day spending and solely relying on my income. But hey, I guess that's just the way I see it. You know, there has been this continued sense that like the Rogan sphere and pretty much any comedian kind of revolving in its atmosphere has kind of been like self-destructing in the last year. I mean, if you go to the Flagrant podcast right now, the comment section is a literal war zone where Akash is getting destroyed, he's getting called a cuck, he's getting called a simp. I mean, someone take that motherfucker off the barbecue, he's done, he's cooked. But either way, I do want to thank you guys for watching today's video, dropping a like and
yeah, it's like an interesting
subscribing.
bubble.
But
okay, so let me do this. So that's like the rundown. And look, if you want to watch Jamari's video, like I'll go ahead and put it in the link just to, you know, I mean, credit where credit is due. I did watch his video on stream. Like I said, I'm not subscribed, but I do catch up with Jamari to know what's happening in the boy bubble, because I feel like he is that middle of the road, not middle of the road, but like he has that kind of insight. And again, I'm telling you right now, I'm not promoting the boy podcasts. I'm telling you right now, somebody on Discord pointed it out because we've all been sharing our YouTube recaps or whatever. And like, I have like 5,000 videos in my watch later tab. When I tell you I watch a lot of content from everybody, I'm telling you I watch everybody, okay? Now, then, okay, so I'm going through the timeline. I'm going through the normal timeline of things. So then this happened a day ago, which was technically right before the podcast landed from Flagrant. So here's the update. Here's like Akash responds to everything from Jamari. This happened a day ago.
So the last time we caught up with stand-up comedian, co-host of the Flagrant podcast, Akash Singh, things were not going very well for him. As for years, Akash had painted his home life as some sort of fairy tale, almost as if he had found the needle in the haystack and was married to the most pure woman he could ever imagine.
My wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
My wife hadn't had a sexual partnership, and that really helped me. Maybe this is a lie they're telling. Maybe this is a brand fib, which a lot of people do. Maybe this is confusing for us because we don't know. Maybe we're all counting sex differently. Maybe she said she had a lineup of guys that she was just going on dates with. Maybe she was just kissing them. Maybe, you know, a lot of, in Catholic bubbles, there's a joke that like anal sex isn't really sex. So maybe, I don't know this bubble. I don't know what she counts as sex. Maybe they were just doing oral. A lot of people don't consider oral sex. I don't know what was going on, right? Like, does oral count as a body, right? And also Discord said, my girl being a virgin makes me more confident. Yeah. So that's the thing is like, ultimately, I'm glad they bonded on something together, but there is a stigma with sex, guys. Okay. There are a lot of people that will not date a 40-year-old virgin versus I'm like, why not? And some people are like, no, there's something wrong with you if you haven't had sex by 40. But is there? Maybe. But also, is there something wrong with you if you've had 500 partners by 40? Maybe. Right? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't think I can tell yet, because your why matters to me, right? So I think like that's the thing. And also like, This is why bubbles matter and language matters. What is one thing to another bubble isn't the same thing to another. And then your why matters, okay?
Let me ask you this. Do you believe her?
But lately, Akash's worst nightmare has come true, and the internet has been collectively destroying both him and his wife Jasleen for the last count.
Yeah, but the same people that are destroying this couple are literally losers, so we don't care about them. Let's be real. The only people going after this couple and the way they're going after them are just literally misogynist losers. You know what I mean? They're probably racist, right? Because they're brown. They're probably fucking MAGA voters. Not that Akash is a saint, because I think he voted for Trump as well. Like, also, I do not feel that bad for Akash and his wife because they voted for a fucking rapist as far as I know. So also go fuck yourselves. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, just a reminder. Thank you.
Under month. It's almost like Akash is kind of just caught up in the rubble of her bad decisions, and now he has been embarrassed time and time again. Because not only did his wife reveal herself to be infatuated with both money and material possessions,
The best fucking part is like living with your best friend.
Also, it's like there's
who buys you designer shit.
Yeah, this is called capitalism, baby.
but she also made several statements about her dating history before him that had people looking at her sideways.
Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. I was popping my pussy.
So he's just doing a review.
And living my best life in these white boy frat houses.
So now the audience has seen behind the curtain of this fairy tale, and the comments have been merciless. Granted, everyone comes with a past, everyone has baggage, but even in the current day, she was still thirsting over her friend's husband, who is essentially Akash 2.0.
And it's kind of weird.
Okay, we saw this last time.
Her latest thing
Okay,
from
look
the
at this.
past. We have updates on Akash fleeing to
Okay.
Dubai.
Maybe look.
So like okay, I know this sounds weird. As an American, it kind of is a red flag to go to Dubai, but not because you're in Dubai, but because of like the kind of douchebags that go to Dubai to brag about it. And not to mention like some of the like very politically gray things that are coming out of Dubai. But I guess I learned watching Love is Blind, I learned that apparently if you're in that part of the world, like in the UK, it's not that abnormal to go to Dubai, which is very interesting because I guess it's close. Chad said it was her friend's husband. Yes, but her friend was sitting right there and they were all joking with each other. It was her friend's husband, but the wife was right there laughing and enjoying the conversation. Okay? So like, it's obviously good. They're obviously all good. Akash said, this is the best husband I know. And the man like leaned over and put an arm around him. It's good. We're not here to judge it. This, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a fuck if it's her man's or her bestie's man. Like, that might be totally normal in their bubble, right?
Her latest podcast episode where she attempts to dunk on her haters when the score is already 69-0.
Investing in your wife is the biggest ROI that you'll ever have. Investing in your wife is not a financial burden.
As well as a leaked on-stage response from the man himself to all the controversy.
These narratives, people calling your wife a gold digger and a whore and all these other things, it's a shitty thing.
But I feel like we should just start a little bit lighter here. First, the detectives of the internet did find her potential roster of white frat boys from her college,
And I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through.
as well as more footage of her refusing to kiss him on camera, including the very day that the man proposed for the original time.
Oh, I love my wife. I love my wife. Let's go ride a bike with my wife. My wife's real young. My wife's real small. Let's go to the beach and play with a beach ball. Praise Jesus God and my wife.
So as of right now,
I mean, that's pretty crazy. Girl, if I was that PDA to my husband, like, I would just say, like, girl, I don't want to embarrass you. Please don't try to kiss me in public because it looks crazy me trying to run away from you. That was... It's not funny. I'm not... Listen.
my
wife's wife. I love...
original time.
Let's just...
Oh, I love my wife. I love my wife. Let's go ride a bike with my wife. My wife's real young. My wife's real
This
small.
one right here. This one right here is the worst
Go
one.
to the beach and play with a beach ball. Praise
She's
Jesus
doing this. She's doing this. She's like this. You know what I mean? It's like, uh-oh.
God and my wife.
So as of right now,
Fuck. I'm sorry. That is pretty funny. I'm sorry. That is it's a bit wee funny, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Chat says she seems like not a great person, but not for the reasons this video is trying to frame it. Exactly. They don't seem like great people, but not for the reason. It's funny how you can dislike somebody, but for different reasons than somebody else dislikes somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I dislike this person, but we do not dislike this person for this. We are not frenemies because you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, that is so funny. Oh man.
now Akash is 0 for 2. He is batting 0 on proposal kisses.
Yeah, it's giving Justin and Hailey Bieber. Bro, Justin pisses me off with the way he treats Haley, but also like I understand why people hate Haley. I just don't care. These people, we do not know the inner workings of these people's marriages, okay? But I will just say the footage is not doing them justice, or if it is, maybe it is doing them justice. I don't know.
Which,
I
if
don't
that
know.
is not telling to people of something, I don't.
But listen. Can I just show you this? Listen to me. Look at this TikTok I saw from Chelsea Fagan today. This is how dire the straights. The straights are suffering. The straights are suffering. Now, this woman was going viral on TikTok for being in an abusive marriage, and she was with this man for 14 years, and they had multiple kids, and she decided to finally propose to him. And the world had opinions about it. We don't care about her. Listen to what Chelsea says in this TikTok.
Asked, why is it so bad for the woman to propose outside of gender roles? What makes it so bad? This is part 2.
That whole video is great. Please go back and watch the whole thing. But I would also just like to quickly add my 2 cents on why women proposing to men is so uniquely embarrassing as someone who does quite a bit of research on the socioeconomics of heterosexual marriage. Josh mentions this in his video, but it's worth repeating that on basically every metric you can conceive of, heterosexual marriage on average is a losing proposition for the woman. Because not only is she usually also expected to work full-time alongside her husband, all while taking on the vast majority of child rearing and domestic labor. Fun fact, on the rare occasions that men actually do 50% of that work at home, they perceive themselves as doing the majority of it. Not only do women initiate the majority of divorces because at some point they realize they would be better off literally alone than saddled with a partner who amounts to another child. Not only do things like happiness and fulfillment tend to shoot way up for women post-divorce and things like stress levels fall, whereas the opposite is true for men, and they often will tend to get into new relationships very quickly, especially if they have small children, because to be clear, most of the child rearing of those children of divorce is going to fall to his new wife rather than to him as the father. Because men aren't stupid, and they know that on average their lives are made way better by having a wife. It's also important to note that all of these things around marriage usually being a losing proposition for the woman, or at least a net negative on most metrics of her life, has literally always been true. The only difference about right now is that women are finally able to opt out of it if they don't want to be in it. They finally have control over things like the money that they themselves earn, which we basically have only had for one generation. Women couldn't even have their own credit cards till the late 1970s. It is a total fallacy that up until the modern era, women just didn't have to work, and as problematic as marriage might have otherwise been, they were at least taken care of at home and only had to focus on home tasks. Outside of a very short window of history and a very small group of women during that period of history, most women had to earn money outside of the home. They just didn't get to keep it. And no matter what that husband was doing, they couldn't leave him legally. So not only is this
So just right here, I want to pause this and just say, the reason you have the women who want the men to provide, so they date rich men and they have like a deal with these men, is because we know women have always worked. The illusion that women haven't always worked isn't really, it is so obviously true that I think that's why Sprinkle and all these people want you to date really wealthy men, so you literally don't have to work. But see how these women all choose to work and we sure, it literally works. She has a book. She has 3 books. She has a stream. She makes all of her own income because like there is no reality even in rich bubbles where women don't work. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's working. The illusion is, so then the other illusion is, well, if I'm going to be working anyways, I might as well be working for a man who buys me Birkins instead of a man who buys me McDonald's.
The first time in basically human history where women have the ability to opt out of any marriage less than one that absolutely serves them and adds value to their life. Literally only have.
So Chelsea Fagan comes from the perspective that marriage is always a disadvantage for women. That's why you have to be careful. And then Fresh and Fit come from the perspective that marriage is always a disadvantage for a man, so men should be careful. And I think both of them need to go kick rocks. Both of them need to go deconstruct their gender binary because I'm so fucking tired. You are literally making your lives miserable. And I'm so sorry straight people are suffering so badly, but you all drive me crazy. Like, I literally have never seen more unhappy people in my life than straight people. You are so miserable and your misery is so self-inflicted. Your misery is self-inflicted.
One thing to go on when it comes to assessing whether or not a future potential husband.
And self-inflicted because the systems that come before you train you and raise you under patriarchy to believe this is the only option you have. But God forbid there were some, I don't know, niche communities underground that you guys keep putting in jail and killing that, I don't know, maybe like have the answers to liberate you from these chains.
Will be the one that bucks those trends. And that is the effort and intentionality that he puts into the relationship before you get married, or let alone before you have kids. Because to be clear, if he is not already a 50% partner in the home before you have children, studies show that that will just get worse once the child.
Well, maybe because he shouldn't have been 50% to begin with. He should have been 100%, just like I should have been 100%. Just Chelsea pushing the narrative that people should be 50-50 is the bullshit. Everyone should be 100-100. Nobody's gonna be 50% in any successful marriage. You have to be 100-100.
Child arrives. If you're not even married yet, and the only evidence you have is that your potential husband isn't even willing to put in the effort of formalizing that relationship in a legal structure which will benefit and protect you, at least on a minimal financial level in the case of separation, you know that he's a terrible potential husband. So begging him to marry you in the one time in history when you don't even need that, when he has shown you he's not even willing to put in the most minimal level of effort to prioritize you, incredible loser behavior.
She's been on this kick lately of calling people losers, like loser behavior. Like, no offense, Chelsea, Brittany. And I really like Chelsea, so just keep in mind, I really like her. You know what? Listen, okay. Listen. People are deeply traumatized. I understand. But a woman who's willing to be with a man for 14 years and have kids with him and not even have the life she wants is more than just a loser. She is something much more needing of compassion. She is traumatized. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to say to you people. Like, I understand that we love to call people losers here. I love to call a misogynist a loser. But at the end of the day, like, there is so much trauma here. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is the same woman that her boyfriend hit her and she had a black eye. Is this not the same girl? I could be wrong and I need to double check that. But I thought this was the same woman that had domestic violence in the relationship. And I definitely could be wrong. So you know what? Let me see if I can just check that really fast. Because, like, let me see if there's a way. I swear this is the same girl. Let me see if I can is there a name for this woman? Yeah, hold on. No, this is the wrong one. Let me see.
A bunch of people.
Let me see if I can find. I could be wrong. Do you guys know this story? Do you know if this is the same girl? I feel like this is the same girl. Let me see if I can see it. Oops. Hold on, I'm gonna turn down my volume here so you don't keep hearing the. Okay, let me see. 14 proposing 14 years. Why does this keep happening? Woman proposes after 14 years. Let me see.
I'm getting ready to go in the shower.
Yeah, I swear this is the same woman.
Hitting me that I'm proposing tomorrow to my boyfriend.
Yeah, I'm almost positive this is the same woman who Elita domestic violence.
Get off!
You want to see?
Get off!
You want to see?
Stop!
No, this looks like a different lady. Let me see. I don't want to say something if I'm wrong, obviously. Let me just double check here. I can show you what I'm doing. I hope this is like a different woman, right? I don't know why I thought I saw her with a black eye and I was like, damn, girl, this is the guy you're gonna propose to? This is them. Almost 14 years, multiple kids. She's gonna propose to him. Okay, I'll double check and see, but I thought it was. And look, I don't know why people wait 14 years to get married. I don't even know what people think about marriage or long-term companionship or. Maybe it's a different relationship and I was wrong. I don't see the video that I saw. Yeah, everyone's just like, Okay, well, I'm just going to hope it's not her because I would hate that. But yeah, like, proposing to your boyfriend is like an interesting idea because to me, like, it doesn't even make sense to actually propose to anybody, if I'm going to be so honest. Like, proposing is either the action of surprising a person with a marriage and you didn't talk about it beforehand, or proposing is just an action taken after you've already agreed to marry, right? So, like, obviously my partner and I agreed to marry and then we proposed to each other, but the proposal was just like really intimate between the two of us. There was nothing, Instagrammable, right? It was just like for us. And then, you know what I mean? But like, I've had girlfriends literally explicitly tell their male partners, do not propose to me in public. Do not do that. I do not want that. Please don't propose to me in front of family or friends. And then the boyfriend surprised them with a proposal in their Christmas stuffing, like their stocking, surrounded by family members, right? And it's like, oh, like, and then my friends tell me after they've gotten divorced, like, I should have known. Like, I can't believe I ignored it. And a big part of it is that everybody around you is encouraging the relationship. Like, everyone around you is like excited for you, or they want to be. And that's the problem, is like, now you've got the energy, it's Christmas, everyone's around you. And now it's like, uh-oh, and then they're writing the code. By the way, they want to, like, in the moment, my friends told me that they wanted to marry them because they were like, oh, this is an amazing feeling. This feels so good. Oh my gosh, yes, because like, I love you. But also, it's, you know what I mean? It's not like, it's like a trick of the mind. Like, look how everything is so good. This is why in domestic abuse relationships, they'll abuse you and then they'll give you some sort of dopamine treat. Okay, they'll hit you and then they'll nurse you back. I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't mean to hit you that hard. You're so beautiful. I love you. I'm so sorry. Here's an ice pack, baby. Let me cuddle you. You want to watch your favorite Disney movie tonight, baby? What do you need? It's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And then let me give you a bath and let me light candles and let me rub your feet. And it's like, you're sitting there with a bruise on your face and you're in a bathtub. You know what I mean? You're like, what is happening? And like, that is the, I hit you and then I hug you. Okay. Parents do the same thing. They fucking hit the shit out of their kids and then they go, come here. I love you. This hurt me more than it hurt you. You know what I mean? So again, when we're having these conversations, I knew a girlfriend of mine who was with this guy for 5 years. I was like, hey, are you guys getting married? And she goes, I don't know. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, he hasn't proposed. I was like, but have you asked him, like, hey, are we getting married? And she goes, well, I mean, we've talked about marriage and kids. I was like, okay, but how do you not know if you're getting married? It's because people are literally waiting for their boyfriends to propose to them. They literally don't know if they're getting married. And this has been trained into us and it's bullshit and you need to deconstruct it. Okay? You need to deconstruct this whole narrative and idea around literally not knowing after 5 years if we're getting married. Okay? All right, back to a video about Akash and his wife.
Don't really know what will be. Like, there shouldn't be a moment where a woman is not happier in regards to her relationship than when her guy is down on his knee ready to spend the rest of his life with her. Now, granted,
Also, did she want it to be done in public? Also, he's got cameras around. Did she like that? Did she not like that? Maybe she loved it or maybe she hated it. Did he even propose to her in a way that was like her dream? I want to assume yes, but maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know the details of the situation, right?
Last video, we did discuss how Akash grew up with like zero confidence in himself, and I really do think that he is now seeing the effects of that in his personal life.
I was hideous.
Well, you're not a hideous guy.
Hey, you haven't seen me in high school.
Well,
Short,
what
fat,
happened?
Crooked teeth. I was just like a chipmunk.
Now, fast forwarding to the current day, we had Akash going over to Dubai with his wife and his family, something I'm sure was planned long before this expose, and of course she decided to document the entire thing on her TikTok page.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Dubai. I am getting a massage. Gosh, he's a little tired, so he's gonna go stay sleeping. I have an appointment at Chanel, and I'm gonna run around the room. I'm so excited. I actually just ran around the room. Yeah, Zoomies. Okay.
And I really do think she's trying to make it like a point to stick it to her haters, calling out her questionable behavior online, as she makes several pieces of content revolving around spending money at luxury stores.
Is it too big on me? It's like a travel bag. It is like, it's a little big on me. I get what he's saying, but it's not like...
Like, these are the people, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying this is true because I've never looked at their social media, but I feel like they're hardly thinking about what's happening in Palestine right now. They're hardly thinking about how Americans are struggling right now, right? If you're out here in this economy and this time where everyone is so stressed, bragging about buying bags that could pay people's rent for multiple months, you're obviously tone deaf, right? and that's why she's unlikable. She's tone deaf, but she's not any worse than these men who are telling you to get Bugattis. She's not worse than Andrew Tate, who's like, get a Bugatti. Also, I sleep with 15-year-olds. Like, come on now.
Bad. Good that it matches.
Like, who's Myron to go after this girl when his bestie is facing such trafficking, allegations?
Oh, wow. Because every time something matches, I need to buy it. Oh, the purple's nice. Yeah, I like this one.
So just to be clear, these men can tell other men you suck because you're poor, because you can't buy a $300,000 car, but she can't get a $10,000 bag? You know what I mean? She can get a $25,000 bag? Which one is it? Are they supposed to be rich or not rich? Also, I think Akash looking bored behind her is literally a joke. It's literally supposed to be funny. I'm assuming he's doing it on purpose to look funny, to play into that meme of like husband gets dragged to go shopping meme, which by the way, can I tell you this? My partner and I deliberately make sure we do not play into these memes in public. My relationship is not public, obviously, because you know what I mean? Like, this is what I say the difference is between like growing up and being immature is like, my marriage is not funny, nor is it a topic of conversation for you people. So anytime you see us in public, it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not going to play into these narratives because it's also gendered and stereotypical. We're not going to play into this like isn't it so funny? My husband hates when I drag him shopping. No, we're not playing into this because it literally plays into patriarchy and it plays into misogyny. So we're not playing it. Even if we think it's funny, even if we made the joke in private, this joke is not for public consumption.
Sparkly. I love this. We have to come to Dubai to get the sparkly stuff. All right, I think we'll do this one.
And it is downright hilarious to see Akash in the background.
And I do think queer people who play into these stereotypes as well are bad. Like, you have like toppy mask women who are like, I'm willing to pay. I featured one in my provider video where she was like, I'm happy to pay for stuff, but don't expect it. But also I want to be a provider. And I was just like, please, you're gay. Deconstruct these narratives of like, someone has to be the provider because they're masked. Like, what if you're a mask who wants to be the bottom? Oh, so bottoms can't be masked? And like this idea that like I'm masked, so I have to be the man. Like, what are you even playing into?
Of these videos with his sullen expressions. I mean, down to the damn airport, she was out here taking money from the Akash machine.
What do you mean Akash machine? It's their money. It's their money. That's what I'm saying. Like, she falls into Shira Seven's bubble where it's like his money is our money and my money is my money. And I think that's bullshit. But like when you're married, it's their money. It's not Akash's money. It's their money. That was what they decided on. That's how they do their relationship. If they wanted separate bank accounts, they could have negotiated for that and they probably wouldn't be together. But like, okay. And by the way, as a super progressive person, I also wouldn't be in that relationship if we didn't share money. Because I don't want to live in a relationship where, like, God forbid, my partner's heading to do something and, quote, it's not in my budget, so I don't get to go. Like, what? No, we do everything together. The budget is our budget. And by the way, I've seen those relationships where people don't share money. They're like, well, my girlfriend makes less than me and I make 6 figures and she makes 50K and she just didn't save enough money to go with me and my family on vacation. So she took out a second job and or she took a second job in order to pay for it, but she still can't afford it. What do I do? And I'm like, pay for her, stupid. What do you mean? What should you do? Pay for her. What do you mean? Well, our money is separate. We do different things with our money. You know what I'm saying? Kill me now, bro.
And I just love how you got this Asian motherfucker in the background knowing he just hit the fattest lick from the Akash machine. And don't get me wrong, guys, there is nothing inherently wrong with spoiling a woman or really anyone for that matter. Hell, guys do it all the time for women they aren't even dating exclusively, tricking off their money.
Okay, so you spent over $1 million on Corinna. And you've posted on her story, so I can say this.
Is Corinna? Is that David Dobrik's Corinna? Like that blonde girl? Is that who they're talking about?
You haven't hit.
Why would he hit just because he spent over $1 million on her? But by the way, this is exactly the relationship I would never engage with. Even as a sex worker, I could not, personally. Because I think it is actually deeply unethical, right? It is deeply unethical, but also not because she didn't put out. It's just not healthy for anybody. Like, this just isn't a healthy way to live life. You know what I mean? But neither is Fresh and Fit. So I don't know where they're getting off being judgmental.
Oh. I just feel like the real problem comes with her overall attitude of like this general entitlement. Like, I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing or if this is like the path she always felt she was destined to walk, but it is beyond clear to me that she feels like she is like owed these gifts. And that is where we get to the response.
See, that's interesting. It's weird that she feels like she's owed these gifts. Hold on. I agree, but for feminist reasons. I agree for progressive reasons because I think it's inherently unhealthy to be in a relationship. And I will say inherently because any relationship that plays to the patriarchy is inherently unhealthy. So I will say that I agree that her expecting the gifts because she's a woman is unhealthy or because she is the wife is unhealthy. But he's probably thinking about it from a different perspective, right? But does that make sense?
That she made on her return to her very successful podcast.
Also because like, where the fuck has chivalry gone? Yeah. Where has chivalry gone? Like, why do these men who make $60,000 a year are talking about gold diggers? You don't have any gold to dig. You don't have to worry. You don't even have to worry about it. It's like, bro, we're not even talking about you because the guys that are actually in the 1% tax bracket, they want to do like the things that my husband and Nav are doing. They want to take care of women. They don't want us to be stressed. They want to be in our divine. They want us to be in our divine feminine energy.
Now, to be clear.
Okay, pause. So this is pretty common. Where it's true, like why are guys who are making 40K a year talking about gold diggers? Because they're watching Fresh and Fit, right? Like you don't even have gold to dig, okay? Separate from that, I do think it's true that men who make a lot of money feel like in order to be real men, they then have to spoil their wives, right? And I think that's the difference is like if my wife and I have a shared income, then I'm not spoiling my wife. We're just agreeing to use our money to buy them a gift, right? But to be fair, we don't do gift giving in this marriage because like it doesn't make sense to us. How am I going to give you a gift when we share money? You know what I mean? Like, and also I don't care about gifts like that. I just want to buy it for myself. I don't need you to buy me nothing. But that's our relationship. Our relationship, we talk about everything. We share everything. Everything we do is us together. Every vacation we go on, everything we buy, everything we do. We're just like, hey, bro, you want to eat out? You want to get this thing? You want to go on vacay? Like, and then we sit down and look at our budget and we like do the thing. Like, hey, I want to buy this thing. Is it in the budget? Or like, hey, I want to buy this thing. Is it in the budget? But like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand this idea of like our money, their money. This is a gift for you. Now, to be fair, our parents are also that way. This is how we were raised, right? My parents don't do anniversaries. They don't do each other gifts. They don't do that kind of stuff. They just like make a decision about what they want to do, right? Chad says, don't you think it all comes down to compatibility? People that value material things should pair up. Not more practical people should pair up. Well, yes. And I think you should deconstruct and you shouldn't be this way. Like, yes. So my personal opinion, this is a bullshit relationship and it's not healthy. But not the relationship itself, just the construct around it. Okay. Separate from that, obviously, it's about compatibility. But the compatibility doesn't then say the relationship is healthy. But also, you know what I mean? Like, I think overall, this is how I would want to raise future kids. Like, I don't think these are good lessons for children to learn. And I don't think this contributes to the overall harm reduction of the planet, right? Because one, they're over consuming, they're buying luxury goods. It's literally so bad for the environment. It is so deeply unethical. It's playing their capitalists. So I fundamentally, philosophically think their relationship is toxic and bad for everybody, including themselves. And my issues with them are separate from the red pillars who obviously are just judgy because they're losers. Okay, so look, and they're misogynists, right? So that's the other part of it too, is like, yeah, you're just like, I think, you know, Ethan and Gila are super high compatible. Doesn't mean I don't think there's like a lot of toxicity in who they are as people. Like you can be high compatibility and toxic, I think, because it's like, man, you really were made for each other. You're both so made for each other, you know, but I'm sure their marriage is good because they're both the same. But what happens if one deconstructs? What happens if one of them goes to therapy? What if one of them gets better, right? Like, what if one of them, you know what I'm saying? So then that's the question that, you know, that's why when, guys help me, when Good Mythical Morning deconstructed, it was a Rhett and Link. It was quite amazing that their wives also followed and deconstructed because those relationships could have easily ended up in divorce. So that was really beautiful that they were so obviously high compatible that as they deconstructed, they stayed together. Most couples would probably just divorce. So I think that's really beautiful, right? And yeah, Discourse said, I don't think I've ever seen a healthy materialistic person. You know, I've seen healthy to a point. Like I would say Akash and his wife are healthy to a point, but I would say overall, it's enough to ignore, but it's not enough to say deconstructed. Does that kind of make sense? Like I see plenty of healthy religious couples. I do, but I wouldn't say that it was healthy, progressive. I'd say it was like really healthy in terms of their dynamic. Like, but I would also say like, that's the dilemma when we talk about what is toxic and what is unhealthy. I don't necessarily think their marriage is unhealthy. I think their beliefs about the world are toxic and unhealthy. And therefore, if deconstructed, would change the way the relationship is. But they might have like, I'm pretty sure Ethan and Gila's marriage is healthy. Like, I'm pretty sure it's healthy. But, you know, I don't think anyone's hitting each other, cheating on each other, lying to each other. I don't think any deception is happening. I think they're probably having a great time at home when they're alone. But I wouldn't recommend, because of their belief systems, that the whole construct is healthy or good or not bigoted. Does that make sense? Like, I'm pretty sure Akash and his wife are probably in a healthy marriage. Maybe. I don't know. But that doesn't mean that I think the bubble is healthy, right? Yeah, Chad said their marriage is healthy, but they don't seem healthy as individuals. Yeah, like, obviously, like, because the marriage is, that's why I say it's the marriage, but not at the expense of me. The marriage, but not at the expense of him. But also, like, I and him are not the marriage. Like, the marriage is separate from us. There's me, there's him, there's the marriage. And that's why it's all about the team, but not at the expense of ourselves, and ourselves, but not at the expense of the team. And these two things are different. Our marriage can be so fucking solid and beautiful, but maybe we're both working on stuff, right? But like, the marriage is a separate unit. So I think that's really hard for people to like process. But I think when you see couples who have been together for 40 years and you see the marriage stay healthy, but the individuals go through journeys that are difficult, it's like, hey, is this going to impact your marriage? Oh, hey, is this going to affect your marriage? No, the marriage is good, bro. But my person is going through it right now, but the marriage is good. Yeah, that's a thing, right? That's a thing that happens. We're like, sometimes your partners go through moments. Sometimes they're depressed. Sometimes they're suicidal. Sometimes they're having a mental health crisis. Sometimes they need to find the right meds, whatever. But that doesn't mean the marriage is in trouble. It just means my homie's going through it. And I think that's what it is. I see this, I've seen this in my own life with couples who've been together a long time. Marriage stayed solid, but like the partners went through shit, and again, it didn't impact, it wasn't at each other. It was separate, individual, So, okay.
Here, most of the people she's talking about here, these red pill creators, are at the very least in the top 3% of earners in the country. I mean, a lot of you already know that I'm not like a red pill guy myself. In fact, I've spent a lot of time roasting these types of creators. But man, does she keep supplying them with more ammo than Reagan in the Iran-Contra affair.
She gets into this divine feminine energy, this divine feminine aura. In return,
if I hear divine feminine, I do gag. Because that's just like, it's not red pill, but it's like the opposite of red pill. Okay? It is the sheer sevens. It is this idea that men versus women. It is a gendered binary term.
He starts taking care of you in a much better way. Investing in your wife is the biggest ROI that you'll ever have. Investing in your wife is not a financial burden.
And it's interesting that she talks about this like divine feminine energy when it is defined as the following: a spiritual and cultural concept representing nurturing, intuitive, and creative qualities, such as empathy.
Look, the same way, because Chad said it's red pill to me, the reason I specify categories, guys, is because somebody out there is watching me and thinking I'm red pill. Do you remember when I was critical of Manifestel and they thought I was a Fresh and Fit fan? And that's because we're critical of you, but for different reasons. And that's why I say, make sure you're categorizing people correctly. I don't consider Jamari red pill, right? And that's because I know, and like that's the problem, is like people, like I'm criticizing this girl and people out there are gonna be like, oh, Brittany's a pick-me, Brittany's red pill. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you have to know your category so you understand, like, where are they coming from? When I criticize Kyle Kulinski and everyone's like, who's this fucking liberal? Who's this Zionist? Literally got called a Zionist because I told Kyle Kulinski he shouldn't call women the B word. And they're like, who the fuck is this Zionist? How much is Israel paying her? And I'm like, bro, you know what I mean? Like, what?
The sensuality and interconnectedness, when she has literally admitted on multiple occasions that she doesn't do anything. She doesn't cook, she doesn't clean, she doesn't show this guy affection.
For those of you who are new here,
I don't clean, but let me tell you, I got this ring.
Hi, my name is Jasleen. I'm a stay-at-home wife, but I don't cook or clean because I don't feel like it. And my husband is a full-time stand-up comedian.
Look, with peace and love, bro, if we had the money and my wife wanted to be a stay-at-home girlfriend, well, she'd be my stay-at-home wife. If she wanted to be a stay-at-home wife and do something with her life and we had the money to help us, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily see the issue with that, really. I mean, I see the issue with it maybe if it's a very specific kind of personality of a person. You know what I mean? Right? Discord said pink pill, I think is what it's called. Brittany, the whole Manifestel bubble. Oh, yeah, maybe. I don't know enough about it to call it, but yeah, that may make sense as a categorization. Like, you know, like I think capitalism gets in our brain and says everybody must be earning a paycheck. But I would argue instead that I would want to just make sure my partner was flourishing and happy with their life, right? So if I could see a situation where like that could be a thing, but also I don't think, I mean, she's actually a great example of this. She has a podcast. She's working now. So she's not a stay-at-home wife or girlfriend. This is like Nara Smith acting like she's a stay-at-home mom or something when she's a full-time model. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, yeah, Chad said calling all of these bubbles red pill is kind of like how your parents call everything Nintendo because they don't know the nuances between the different types of video games. Exactly, chat. Exactly, chat. That's why I think you should be specific, because you do sound like a boomer. Like you do kind of sound like you actually don't know the difference. And it is my special interest to know the differences. So I think it is kind of like a little bit annoying to me when people are like, it's all Nintendo. I'm like, it's literally not, but I hear you. But like, it's literally not, you know? But yeah, like, these women get up here and make podcasts about being stay-at-home girlfriends when they all work and make paychecks. It's all very confusing.
And he buys me lots of nice things.
I mean, she even admitted that she hates to celebrate this guy's birthday with him because she has to be nice to him for an entire 24 hours. And I guess that takes away from her sacred princess.
She is, I would describe her in my bubble as like spoiled. But I would also argue that Akash feels more like a man the more spoiled she is, which is why I don't like this bubble. It's unethical, it's bad for the planet, it's capitalistic, it's patriarchal, and I don't like it, but people literally dream their whole life of being in this bubble. So you do you in your little bubble, but I don't like it. Okay, if he was more secure in himself, he wouldn't have picked her. If she was more secure and wholesome and had values and wasn't, you know, focused on killing the planet with her overconsumption, she also wouldn't have picked him. Okay?
Treatment.
May the 4th is Akash's birthday. And
May the 4th be with you.
Yes,
yeah, and every year I dread it because I have to be nice the whole day and I have to get him something. Listen, I'm just used to being treated like a princess all day, every day. So that one day that I don't.
Oh, what torture.
Yeah. I'm like a case in point example. Like even before my husband really started making money, he always would find little ways to spoil me, even if it didn't cost that much in the beginning. And now like we've gone from like him buying me like AirPods or like Nike shoes to now like, you know, spending so much money at Miu Miu or Cartier or whatever. And I'm not saying that to be braggy. I'm saying that I've seen this principle like really, really work. And I truly believe that like a man that takes care of his wife is like blessed by the universe.
So she really thinks in her head that Akash is
that's like a whole bubble on the internet. I don't like that bubble. I think it's inherently unhealthy, but it exists.
only successful because he spoiled her in his personal life.
Behind every successful man
is a woman.
Wait, what is it?
What's it saying? Is a great woman.
Oh,
that was anticlimactic.
Keep in mind, Akash claims he works over 320 days a year, and he has been grinding his comedy career for 20 years now. So to suggest that him spoiling her is the sole reason that the universe has provided him with monetary riches and fame is honestly beyond delusion.
I mean, guys, look at their wedding. Look at their cultural weddings, right? I mean, these are big weddings. They're expensive weddings. I don't know why we're not pretending. Like, listen, I went on a date with this Arab guy one time, and he was like, I want a big Arab wedding. I was like, look, I'm not opposed to it, but like also, you know what I mean? It's not like that important to me to have a big, flashy, expensive wedding. My cousin's wedding cost 6 figures. You know what I mean? Like, even if I had the money, I don't know, bro. But then people love it. Like, people love that shit. That's why you guys watch celebrity weddings. That's why, like, people watch, like, the Trisha Paytas's Twilight wedding. You know, like, people love that shit. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't care about this stuff. You know what I mean? But then people will look at my marriage and say like, oh, I bet you wanted your wedding to be different. You know what, bro? I'm so happy with how things went. I don't know how it could have gone better, different. You know what I mean? Like, sure, there are nuances of I wish I didn't have to have a wedding at a time when all my friends were working and maybe that would have been dope for them to come for the wedding. But like, obviously, like, who the fuck cares? It was a great wedding. But like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Chet says they can't afford that though. No, they can't. No, they can't. No, they can't. No, they can't. Most of these people start their weddings out in debt. Most of these people are hoping to make that money back through people. Trust me, I've been to enough weddings. Most of them start off in debt. They don't have the money. They sometimes have the money, but they pretend to have the money. No, you know how many people I know who got married and had these big weddings and they didn't make the money back from the guests? Because in Arab culture, the guest is supposed to pay for their plate and more so they can cover the funds, but that doesn't always happen, right? You said I'm in the rich people. Well, if they have the money, but we know this time and time again, how many times we have to have this conversation. The rich people aren't as rich as they say they are. They say the Kardashians are $600 million in debt. They say none of these people actually have any money. It's fake money. Rich people have more fake money than poor people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know this very wealthy family from Italy. I know them through a friend. They have no liquid cash, no money, but they live on an estate with like multiple houses and they're old school wealth, but they have no cash or liquid, right? Yeah, the people think you are 1% are not the 1%. Exactly. Like, I think if we're thinking about the extra wealthy, where like they actually are good with their money and they actually do save it, that's different, right? But like a lot of people who are major celebrities in these bubbles, they're not as rich as people think. They're actually like, they're rich, they have money, but they're bad with their money. And so again, I'm not, you know what I mean? Yeah, Chad says, have you studied the old aristocracy? I can't say this word. Why do they think so many people married their daughters, no money? Well, okay, the bourgeoisie, is that how you say that word? You know what's interesting is like when people look at old money, like ancient money, I don't know that much. I'm talking a little bit out of my ass right now because I'm not as educated. But what I've read about it, all I hear is they have no money. They're marrying their cousins. There's so much incest. There's like all of these dying babies. There's everyone has no wealth to give, but the way they live is so obnoxiously rich, right? It's so obnoxious that everyone feels like, oh, they have money. They have money compared to you, but they don't have money the way you think they have money. And that's what I've learned about like aristocracy. I feel like I know how to say this word, but I can't think of how to say it, right? Chad says, is that why famous capitalists are so greedy? Because they actually are in debt? I think obviously not everybody, but a lot of them. A lot of these people are not as good with money. That's why people even making $300,000 are struggling to make money. We're going to watch a video on this later today. There is like this myth that everyone is good with their money. Why is the joke about doctors that they're bad with their money? Because they literally are. They overspend, they make high income, spend a lot, right? Right. Chad said, is it that their wealth is wrapped up in assets? For some people, yes. So like, if you're a rich person and you're very responsible, you're good. Bro, if you're a middle class person and you're extremely responsible and very frugal, you'll probably be good. But what's crazy is how many of us are very bad with money. We're very bad with money. And why would we be? Let's say you're really spoiled, like you're incredibly spoiled in your bubble, and you don't know how your dad built his wealth or your mother how built her wealth, and then they give you money. Look at Trump. How many times has Trump had failed businesses? How much money did his father give him? And he's always filing for bankruptcy. Like, this is like you know what I mean? He obviously knows something about something, but they don't know how to hold on to it. You know what I mean? Yes, artists brag that they're rich, but they live off an advance 100%. So many people literally get an advance on their book, advance on their music. They live off that advance, but they're always chasing the dollar. Okay? They're all chasing because we're all so bad with money. And so what I'm saying is like, I'm not that impressed when I see rich people pretend to be rich because even though I know you have money, you're probably pretty bad with it. You're probably pretty bad with it. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I'm just not very impressed. You know, Chad said, how do you get good with your money? What's the process? Well, and that's why I wish Chelsea Fagan would go back to talking about money instead of doing whatever the fuck she's doing right now. Like, stop talking about marriages and talk about the financial reality without making it all about gender wars, bro. Money is math, okay? It's math. There are systems at play. There are ways to invest, but most of us are not very good with math. Most of us are not very good with numbers. Most of us do not understand that we are living like in systems that absolutely are taking advantage of us. And don't worry, I'm going to cover this later in stream. But also you can get ahead. It's just the slowest process you'll ever experience. Getting good with money when you haven't had a leg up from your family is a very slow process. If you got a leg up from your parents, your college is paid for, you have a car that's paid for, your housing was paid for, that's a different experience. And even then, your parents have to give you that knowledge. And if they don't give it to you, then you're still just a person who had nothing to, you didn't have to pay for anything, but you don't know any better, right? So we're going to talk about this in the video after this. Trust me. Okay, let's finish this out and then we'll talk about it.
Her is the sole reason that the universe has provided him with monetary riches and fame is honestly beyond delusional. I mean, let's be honest, no one even knew who she was until around a month ago.
And so like when I was training my dog, this is no joke. I read this dog training book and it says in the book, like the true alpha of the pack is not the dog that barks all the time, is super defensive, insecure. Like those are the red pill guys. The true alpha of the pack is the calm one. The quiet, the like leads with dignity.
And not only does she have that dog trained, but she also has Akash on the very same regimen, because he totally buys into this idea that he is forever indebted.
By the way, the whole train your husband's narrative is a real thing that came out of certain bubbles, like you might have heard of like men are from Mars and women are from Venus, or you might hear like a woman is the man is the head but the woman is the neck. Like there is a bubble of boomer moms that believe you should train your husbands, like train them. We need to deconstruct all of these bubbles. And that's what I'm saying. We need to deconstruct the bubbles. But I'm not that surprised. This is the bubble. So I don't care that people are making fun of them. But I think it's interesting how we make fun of people.
To her, because she was with him when he was broke. And he says like she could have gone and married a doctor, but she stayed with him instead. And this is where his onstage response comes in, as Akash tells the crowd a little story from their past.
These narratives, people calling your wife a gold digger and a whore and all these other things, it's a shitty thing. So I'm going to tell one story that I have never even told her. Honestly, she has no idea this story. My wife and I met in 2014. I was not making much money. I was getting $25 a night doing stand-up. I was on MTV shows that paid dog shit money. If she was a gold digger, I didn't even have 10 to get the bitch, to be honest. But then in 2018, I went flat fucking broke. 34 years old, I probably made $4,000 that entire year. And we couldn't even afford the living room we lived in New York City. We had to move out of that apartment and move to New Jersey. I had to save up money to move to New Jersey. So we had to stay on her friend's house for almost a month. We were basically homeless for a month. So I could save money to move to New Jersey. And I remember the night before we went to the couch, we had to stay in our apartment illegally. So me and her sleeping on a hardwood floor. I'm 34 years old. She's 25 years old. I'm looking at this girl like, man, you could go be with an Indian who's a doctor, like a real Indian. You're a beautiful girl. You have so much ahead of you. Me, I don't know what my life is going to be. I'm 34. I'm fucking broke. This dream might not ever happen, but I'm too fucking moronic to quit. And I have nothing to give her. It's just a light jacket. It's like October. We have nothing. So I hand her the jacket, and then she said, what's this for? I said, you can use it as a pillow. And then she goes, well, what are you going to use? And I said, I'll figure it out. She handed me back the jacket. She goes, you take this. And then she laid with her head on my chest and her arm around me the entire night. And I remember thinking in that moment, this is why I haven't shared this with her, because I remember thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to marry this girl, because I'm so broken. I'm in such a bad place, and it's a dark fucking time in my life. But I know I will never find a girl that loves me this much ever again, and I will never find a girl who rides for me this hard ever again.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
So yeah, I just think his attempted damage control was weak.
He's 34 years old in this story. So she's 33? No, 23? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that was cute for you, but that was not cute for me. You know, like, that was not cute for me. You know what I mean? Like, she's in her 20s. Of course she thought it was like a romantic fucking, you know what I mean? Right? Like, I don't know. Like, she's in her early 20s. She probably thinks like, this is so romantic. But like, why is this man past 30 and can't get his shit together in any capacity? You know what I mean? Chad said it's fine to be a struggling artist at 30. I don't know. Let's talk about it. If we are hitting milestones, and I do think you should hit some, I think there is an expectation in dating that I think like example, I wasn't interested in dating somebody who didn't have their own apartment and job when I dated them, because I just don't find a lot of people who can't figure out like at least that part of it to be compatible with me, right? So like, though my partner doesn't work now, they had their own job and apartment when I met them, which was a huge plus. And I was like, that's all I required was the knowledge that you knew how to pay bills and you could do the basics. Because what if I get in trouble? What if I'm disabled? What if I'm sick? What if I'm this? What are you going to do that shows me you already know how to do it? You didn't need anyone to help you. Because like, we all help each other, yes. But ultimately, like, this is the person I'm going to rely on. And we already know people leave when people get sick. We already know divorce is up. We already know incompatibility is there. I've already dated people in the past who like could not hold down a job to save their life. So yeah, it's cute to be struggling as an artist, but also like, can you pay that bill? You know what I mean? Like, can you pay your bills? And that's like a big part of it is like, again, I don't want to play into capitalism here, but I also need you to be like the adult in the room at some point. And 34 is like, you know, and not everyone is on that journey. I get it. But I think for some of us, it's okay to say like 34 is a little too old not to like be able to like pay your bills. You know what I mean? So in my opinion, from my standard, it's a little too old not to know how to pay your bills. But you know, you do you. And if people are on that journey, like no judgment, everyone's on a different journey for real. No, there's no wrong place to start, but also you're allowed to have that standard and say like, I don't think so. But it's also okay to say, you know, that was my standard, but I changed it when I met so-and-so, right? But I kind of expect you to have something figured out because look, it goes back to this idea of like, you're 27, you should know it's weird to date a 19-year-old. Yeah, but you didn't know it wasn't weird not to pay your rent by 34. Like, I expect you to also know how to pay your bills by 34. But see how you expect people? That's just one of those things I expect. I expect you to know in your late 20s not to date a teenager. I also expect you to know how to pay your bills. So like different bubbles, different expectations. Chad says, was he not paying bills? No, they were living homeless on her friend's couch. He just said, I made $4,000 in 1 year. I didn't have any money. We were sleeping on her friend's couch. We were homeless. And they were cold in the middle of the night. And he took off his jacket to give her as a pillow. And she said, well, what are you going to use? And he said, I figure it out. And she said, oh no, you have it. And then she cuddled into his chest and they hugged each other in the warmth of their homelessness at 34 because he wanted to be a stand-up comic. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's cute about the story? I don't know what's cute about. I can't figure out what's cute about the story, but like you figure it out, you know?
At best. Granted, I do not think that he plans on having this part of his set leaked, and on a more human level, I do feel bad for him still, like enduring this tsunami online. And there definitely is some merit in being with someone when they have nothing and staying with them through that. And I don't think it's necessarily wrong to like bask in the benefits when they do become.
And again, girls, okay? I see you, chat said my girl lost her job and now I'm just my disability. Everyone has a different relationship with struggle, but please hear the context of this struggle and just know that like, you know what I mean? Like if you're having this experience, right? Like I'm not judging you. Everyone has an experience. We're not all on the same page of that experience, right? But like you have to decide with your values, what is the expectation when these things happen? So I don't mean to come for people that are like, hey, my partner has cancer and hey, we just lost our house to a flood and all these bad things happen, right? Like for sure, right? But also I want to be able to say something like, yeah, I do expect you as an adult person to figure out how to pay your bills by 34. And if you're in a hard position, is this compatible for our situation? Right? And like, does this make sense for our values? Because see how I'm not gendering it? See how I'm not gendering it? Like, oh, men have to make the money or women have to make I'm saying as an adult human being who, again, doesn't have the privilege of family money, who doesn't have the privilege of parents paying your bills. Yeah, at 34, I do expect you to figure something out because like, you know, not all of us, like I don't have my mom and dad are not paying my fucking bills. You know what I mean? So it's very important for me to figure out what I'm doing on this planet for the short time I'm here, right?
Successful. But like I said, the entitlement is just off the charts and she's out here saying all of this wild shit. And I think she can't see that that is like the issue that most people have. That is why everyone is pointing and laughing in Akasha's face. And in this last clip I have for you guys, you will see exactly where her mindset is regarding finances, as she talks about the idea of a man asking for a prenup.
And people love the come up, bro. People love rags to riches. They love the we were homeless, but now we're like buying bags in Dubai, right?
Up before marriage.
Is it just me, or is the idea of asking a girl to sign a prenup incredibly offensive? And only one way. Like if I asked someone to sign a prenup because I had some like booming business.
Prenups are another conversation. I don't believe in prenups for my marriage, but for lots of people, they've been through really bad divorces, they've had really bad marriages, they're like, please get a prenup. I don't believe in prenups, but you might believe in a prenup. There's nothing wrong with a prenup, but also let's talk about what prenups are, right? What is a prenup? But that's, you know, again, I think most of the world is settling. Most of the world does not know their values. Most of the world, they're in relationships with people who don't even know what they think about the universe or the planet or God or morals or values or kids or, you know, So like, of course a prenup might be necessary for the average person, right? Like the average person is going to have to do something different if the trajectory of your relationship is divorce than somebody else doing a different relationship, right? Like, again, okay, it's like when people say like, oh, if I'm not going to marry somebody who's thinking about divorcing me already. Yeah, like we don't talk about divorce except for abusive reasons. But like, obviously I married my partner thinking we're never getting divorced except for abuse, right? So like, I don't want us to be in a marriage where it's like, well, if I just get annoyed with you, we'll get divorced. Like you can get divorced for any reason, but also divorce is a big deal. I didn't just marry you casually either. There are people getting married casually out here. So they're getting divorced casually, which is fine, by the way. I think that's totally fine. I am not going to do paperwork that easy. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be put to do paperwork that for, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Then I would be like, yeah, can you just sign this prenup because like I don't want to like lose all my money. But then like if a guy asked me to sign a prenup, I would be like, I would call off the wedding. Like I would literally call off the wedding.
You would call off the wedding if I asked you to sign a prenup?
Yeah, like I'm not even joking.
I had no real ability to since you were with me when I was broke.
So once again, it's like because she was with him when he was broke, Akash will forever remain her doormat.
You're a sexist. That's the thing.
I'm a feminist.
That's what we coded as, but you're a sexist.
And to be frank, most stand-up comedians are lucky if they make it by their mid-30s. Yep.
She says I'm a feminist, but she's like a Manifestel feminist. She's a Shira 7 feminist. You know what I mean? Like, look, Shira's pro-LGBT people, which is like her, you know what I mean? But she's she doesn't think men are good, right? Like inherently good. I think men are neutral because they're people. They're not more than that. They're like being born a man is not interesting, but being raised and sculpted by the patriarchy, do you know what I mean? Like that's different. But yeah, I don't believe in that stuff. You know what I mean? I don't believe in that narrative. If I did, I would just like, if you believe in that, then you had better be paying your bills by 35 as a girl. Because you know what I mean? Like you better be making your own money then. Because that's what I'm saying. How can you think that badly of men and then marry one? That's crazy. Thinking that badly of men in a privileged position and then still marrying one is crazy. Like, listen, wait, let me caveat that with both my partner and I love to talk about how shitty men are. So that's different because we're talking about men as a system, not as a people. If you hate men as a people, that's crazy. If you hate men as a system, oh, for sure. The best husband you will ever find is a man who also hates men as a system. Okay? So just to make my conversation very clear, okay? Nothing better than a man who hates men as a system, okay? Because he gets it. But hating them as a people is crazy.
There is this acceleration now because of podcasting, but even then, the majority of successful men and women in the space have been grinding for 10 to 20 years before they see any monetary value.
It kind of just to me shows like, I don't know, like it's like kind of like you're not like you're already not being generous. In like as a man, you're already not being generous, and I feel like men should be generous.
And what should women do?
Be spoiled.
Okay. Where should they be generous?
With money.
No, where should women be generous?
Oh, like with tender love and care.
I don't think.
Well, I'm not saying I do it all.
There you go.
And if that clip right there does not tell the whole story, I don't know what will. But regardless, we all have our choices to make in life.
Okay, here's another question I have. Why do couples keep posting these videos thinking they're cute? That's what it is. Why are you posting your relationship videos and thinking they're cute? Hold on, I have a TikTok for this. Hold on, I have a TikTok for this. Hold on, I have a TikTok for this. Girls, your relationships are not cute on camera. They do not translate. Like, they do not translate. I think that's the problem. Is like people think their cuteness factor is translating. It's not. It looks bad. It looks bad. Okay, here's this video on TikTok. I was laughing so hard.
If I wasn't married, I wouldn't want to be married to with the way y'all get up on the internet every day and tell us about your loser bum husbands.
It says, literally, wait, it says,
Y'all get up on the
stop telling us about your loser husbands. Literally, stop telling us about your relationships.
internet every day and tell us about your loser bum husbands.
Okay, this morning my husband made coffee and spilled the coffee grounds on the floor, and I don't want him to hear me. Curious how long these coffee grounds will sit here.
So he made himself coffee, spilled the coffee grounds on the floor, and then she waited all day to see if he would notice. And I'm saying, look, okay, watch it.
Hey babe, come here. Can you explain something to me? Those coffee grounds over there.
You got it?
You got it. If I wasn't married, I wouldn't want to be married to.
He said, you got it. Okay, listen. If he genuinely didn't realize he spilled them, and he genuinely is so fucking tall and blind, he can't see them on the ground, and she knows this, she has to tell him, baby, you spilled grounds on the floor. I don't know if you knew that. Can you wipe it up? But the insinuation of the video is that he not only knew, but ignored it. And there was more to that TikTok because I watched them. He actually went to go close the blinds and open it the next day, and it was there the next morning. So then the question is, okay, do you as the wife know your husband saw it and ignored it? Or do you not, or do you know your husband is ADHD in spaces, that he's maybe blind and can't see the ground, that he literally didn't even realize it? And like, you should be like, baby, you spilled something. And he'd be like, oh, sorry, baby, let me get that. Right? She left it there to see if he would notice it for the next day. Right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, this isn't a cute video. Why did you post this to the internet? Like, why do people post these videos and think they're good videos? They make you look both very unhealthy. Why are you posting this video? I don't get you, girls. I don't get you. Okay, back to Akash.
And if the guy is happy to be like this, well, I guess who are we to tell him otherwise? After all, she really just sees all the backlash as just a bunch of, like, incel losers following the demands of their red pill leaders.
Or these fucking red pill podcast guys, like, when they tell you something, when they ask you to jump, you say how high. You're still not a man either way. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you're still a little bitch beta boy doing whatever these fucking men tell you. Canceled by this, like, people. It doesn't affect me, especially because I genuinely don't respect them. I'm just...
But either way, guys, I want to know what you guys think about all of this.
Okay, so obviously, this bubble's ridiculous. And look, everyone is in their bad relationships and they're just wondering, like, you know, I know people ask me to cover this from like a more like a woman's perspective or whatever. Look, I don't like the bubble she's in. I think she's in a deeply unethical bubble. I think she's obviously better than the Fresh and Fit bubble, but God, it's not that hard to be better. You know what I mean? And I dislike everybody involved. But I wish everyone the best healing, therapy, and deconstruction. Okay, we're not done. Then, today, or the last 22 hours, Akash and his wife go on the Flagrant podcast to talk about the situation. But, oh, just get ready. Okay, they do a skit in the beginning. Okay, they do like a little skit. Tell me what you think I might be a little fucking upset about, given the context of this thing. But let me just, okay, just from a progressive perspective, what is problematic about this?
Tonight on Flagrant, the truth will be revealed. Marriages will be shattered, friendships destroyed, nothing will be the same again. Our guest, once a beloved comedian, has spent the last couple weeks being destroyed, disrespected. He's been dragged through the mud and he couldn't even take out that tiny little of his and stuff it inside for his own pleasure. Give it up for our friend here to tell his side of the story, Akash Singh. Brother, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You can't imagine what you've been going through the last few weeks. Tell us, what's been on your mind?
Dude,
what's been on your heart?
I'm so glad you asked me, man. It's been really hard for me.
Hard for you? Oh my God! Oh my God! Kathleen Sanders in the building. She wants vengeance. Security is here. Security is stopping her. The Punjabi power. Oh my God! She's abusing the security box. The bag. It's absolute pandemonium and chaos here. Akash has brought out a comic key large pair of scissors. He's cutting the bag. Oh my Lord! Kathleen, this is a podcast, not a frat house. What are you doing? Stay back. Tonight on Flagrant. Let's just get right into it.
Yeah. Yes.
Which frat party should my daughter avoid in the near future? I have a 2-year-old daughter. Which frat party should she not go to?
Shy should avoid Teak because they definitely.
Okay, what is wrong with this? Okay, what is the problem? Okay, more than, you know, I get it. This is the bubble. They think it's funny. Da 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 da. Okay, why are there 2 little people here? What's funny about little people being in the skit? What's the joke? What's the joke that little people are the security? Because we know a lot of these shows were infamously abusive to little people throughout history, okay? And they're playing on that joke and they added it into the skit, which I think is bullshit. Like you're just now, that's why they're there. Because like they're part of the joke. It's funny that they're little. And so now we have, misogyny, racism, ableism. And I know this because, I forgot his name. What's the guy on TikTok who gives the little person history? And he's so educational and he's so great. I watch his videos and like he talks about this, how exactly this situation where people bring on little people because it's funnier to people and they play into the joke. So the only jobs people can get as little people are jobs where they're the butt of the joke. So they never get roles that allows them to be like themselves in their bodies. Their bodies are the joke. This is why it's bullshit. And look, they're like decorations for the background. They're not even a part of the room. What are they just going to stand there and be there? You know what I'm saying? And I understand people in normie bubbles think this shit is so funny, right? They think this shit is so funny. But it's like, what? And I get it. Like maybe I am just that woke friend, but I am that woke friend.
They make you pop that thing crazy.
No, because they spiked the drink.
No way.
Yeah, so they got kicked off of our campus.
No
for
way.
Doing that. Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Popping pussy.
Yeah.
Let's just get some definition.
Okay.
We're gonna any terms that you might need to know the actual meaning of. Alex is here to break
be
it
fair,
down.
I thought it was just like dancing, getting dressed up, and maybe that was my mistake.
Yeah.
Nope, I thought popping pussy was twerking. So in girl bubbles, I think that's what that means.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge that.
Look at this. Big one.
Yeah, the act of getting dressed up, looking fly as hell,
Yeah.
wearing a minimum of 3-inch heels, preferably higher, and dancing your ass off
Urban
into the
Dictionary
wee hours of the morning. That
is
was what
big
I was doing.
Yeah, this is white people's definition of it. This is what you learn.
Don't go to Urban.
Guys, what do you think popping pussy is?
You see?
Joe and Kurt say it's not that. Okay?
Yeah.
They're doing more than security
That
here.
was my bad. That was my bad.
That was your
Yeah,
bad.
that was
Okay.
The real
Okay.
Urban Dictionary. Just give me a call every time.
Anytime you're worried about anything like that. Yeah.
That's what I thought. As a white, I thought popping pussy was just dancing. I thought it was like
Yeah,
twerking.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I knew that that's what you meant.
Yes, that's what I
right?
meant.
But like once the internet makes you a whore,
Yeah.
they're looking at Joe, we're talking.
This is my friend's wife.
That's my wife, yo. That's his wife. That's my wife for the time being.
So he makes they make the misogynistic joke and the guy laughs and then the joke is, whoa, why are you laughing at this joke? I'm tired. We're not watching this whole thing, girls. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not watching this, okay? I've already, been so lovely to the Andrew Schulz bubble, but these guys did not learn. They all voted for MAGA. They voted for a rapist. These men in one side of their mouth talk about how much they love their wives and their daughters, and the other side vote for a rapist. So they proved to me this past election, they were never going to learn. They were not going to get better. They were not going to deconstruct. So any of the women in this sphere are the women upholding patriarchy through their liberal boyfriends. Because remember, these guys were Democrats. Andrew Schulz was a New York Democrat who went Republican because Trump made a promise, right? And like, that's the problem. You believed a man who was willing to assault a woman. Your first problem. Okay? So we're not going to watch it, right? I do not care. But what I think is important is that, like, this is the bubble they are in, and this woman is a part of that bubble. She's a part of that bubble where, Andrew Schulz's dream is to, like, make a... I remember he said in a video one time, because I used to really watch his podcast, he said, like, 10 million isn't enough because I want to take care of my whole family. He wants that generational wealth. So to Akash's wife, she's like, yeah, same. These are people who want generational wealth for their kids. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm saying, like, capitalism is bad. And if the only way for my family to have generational wealth is to play into capitalism at the expense of people and the planet, then it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? And I think these people would say it's worth it, as they have shown by voting for Trump, as they have shown by going to Dubai to buy handbags and spend money on luxury goods. Like, they don't care about the planet. They don't care about people. They don't care about their kids' future. They only care about their kids being comfortable as the, like, earth melts around them. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Now, let me just double check here. Let me just double check the timestamps on this video to see. Hold on.
Okay.
So innocence versus perception. People were like, she was kind of coming back and saying, like, oh, I'm like so innocent, I don't even know. Listen, as an autistic girly myself, who in some of her footage can come across really like blunt and knowledgeable and almost like brash, I also am a girly who's like, wait, what does that mean? Like, I also don't know everything. So like it's very confusing, but this is why I want to cover this timestamp, because I'm curious on the whole like innocence part of the conversation.
The issue is always like
people's perception.
Yeah, the
yes.
perception.
I think the big disconnect with you is like, and also there's a version with both of you, is it you guys are so fucking innocent because you've never been with anybody. So when you say weird sexual things, you think it's absurd.
Yeah.
But you are unique in your innocence.
When I was 22 and a virgin, people totally thought I was sleeping around with people because the way I knew everything about sex, because I was reading all the books, I was very comfortable in my body. I was very comfortable joking about sex. Everyone thought I was already having sex, and I hadn't had sex yet. 22 was when I started experimenting with people for real, you know? And that might be what's happening here.
With each other.
I think that was the mistake I made, is like thinking that people would understand that.
They
like,
will not.
Yeah, they won't.
Because the immediate reaction to anybody like who've had, because Alex and I, Mark is more similar to you guys. And let, you know.
Chat said, why are they calling virginity innocence? Patriarchal bubbles, I would say so. I think the opposite of virginity is a claim to knowledge. But yeah, I think you're right that that's probably like patriarchal language, like, oh, virgins are innocent, but like not necessarily.
He's been with his wife, right? So it's like, whereas Alex and I have, you know, we've had other chicks and like our, you know, wives have had as well. And then we got to think about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Yes.
And the men in these bubbles also value that shit, right? Oh, she's untouched. She's innocent. I can corrupt her. I can groom her. I can shape her.
Of course, yeah, exactly. Yeah, all the hormones.
Or as if her virginity will indicate goodness. Oh, if she's a virgin, that means she's a good girl.
Come on. No. But like, so that we're there.
Chat says, do you think virginity is a social construct and doesn't exist? Yes, I think virginity as a social construct doesn't actually exist, but I think there is something to be said about, oh, I have done that, I have not done that thing. Like, I think people who react to adults who have never gotten like their driving license is kind of similar, where they're like, oh my God, you've never got your driver's license? Like, yeah, a part of it is like, why don't you have this experience? And another part of it is like, who fucking cares? But there's a construct around independence or a responsibility. Like, oh, how can you be responsible if you've never driven a car? Like, how can I rely on you? Because in some bubbles, they're so car reliant that to not have your license is like very bad. Same with virginity. It's a construct rooted in like what it means as an attachment to the bubble. So it's valuable. The construct exists literally because people rely on that information meaning something. But I don't think virginity as a concept inherently like exists. I just think it's like it's like saying like, you know, we don't have a word for everything that says I have or have not done something. It's just this one comes with a lot of baggage. It comes with a lot of objectification. It comes with a lot of like disadvantage for the most likely girl in the situation. Or in Akash's example as a man, right? They want the world where men have multiple women, but a world where women don't have any men. It's like, how does that work out? And it's because they're hoping for and assuming that a part of the population will be women that get used by men. That's the fresh and fit narrative. The fresh and fit narrative is he should have lots of partners and she should only have one. So where are you getting that lots of partners from if it's not your homies? Oh, women that are, quote, used up. Oh, so it's okay to make someone else's daughter, someone else's sister, someone else's mother the whore, but not your girl. Okay, cool. Got it.
There's a part of us probably comparing and feeling insecure and maybe feeling potentially inadequate.
Yeah.
Right? So that runs through our minds where you guys have been with nobody. So you can feel confident being.
Yeah, and I think to be fair to everyone, there was a time in our relationship where I would have been more insecure, but when like she's essentially homeless with me and didn't go anywhere and stayed right by my side, I think the jokes don't bother me because it's like, when you're broke as fuck, you see exactly who a person really is. Like, I've seen her at her core, good, bad, all of it. So I know who she is enough that none of these things I'm ever gonna take seriously because I've seen her, we've been at the absolute bottom. She's seen me at my absolute worst. So if I make these jokes, if I call her a bitch or whatever, she's like, I know this. Like, at our absolute worst, we still love each other. We still say it about each other's stuff.
Yeah, I think calling your wife a bitch in public is different. And guys, just FYI, just an update. Don't call anyone a bitch, but since I'm having the conversation where we're talking about the word, I'm going to say it. We're adults. You're going to hear the word bitch, okay? I'm using it as an example. So obviously, a husband calling his wife a bitch in public gives permission to the people around him to also do it in a way that I would not encourage. Okay? It's different in privacy if you're joking around with your homie, your friend, your lover, your husband, and you guys are jokingly be like, bitch, you know what I mean? That's different because you know the safety of the relationship. But doing it in public and bringing your private jokes to the public, this is something I had to learn. I had to learn as a content creator, my private jokes with my friends and family can't be on stream because you are not my friends and family. And what stream culture has created, what online culture has created, it's created this like desire to bring my inside jokes to the public. But the problem with that is the public is not your friend. They are not safe. And so what you're doing is you're just giving them permission, right? And you can't do that. You can't give them permission to do this, right? Chat says, is it humiliating? Well, it can be. And that's the thing. Like, I couldn't even imagine a reality where like, and this is the thing about growing up that I think is interesting. Guys, there is not a reality. There is not even a I can't even believe I'm going to say this. I feel like my body I'm getting sick thinking about it. I cannot even think of a reality where like you can call my mom a bitch in front of my dad and you're not about to get fucking, you know what I mean? Like you can't even, don't even disrespect, you know what I mean? Like I can't even live in a world, like you're gonna die. Like you're gonna die, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not even saying that you should, but like you're gonna die, you know what I mean? And like, I can't even imagine a reality where my siblings would ever be that disrespectful to my mother to her face. Like I can't even imagine, like, you know how you act all tough. You're like, oh yeah, like, you know, and then you get in front of it and you're like I couldn't even imagine thinking you were so tough that you would say that to your parents or disrespect, you know what I'm saying? So like, even saying that, so like, there is just a level of, you know, expectation. Now, again, every family is different. Every culture is different, but like, okay, I think this bubble is immature. I don't think they are those men. I think they are the men who want to be like, my girl is cool and we're funny and we tell sex jokes and we overshare. My parents aren't those people. My mom's not going to get on a podcast and start talking about her life. My dad's not going to get a podcast and start talking about their life. You know what I mean? Actually, do you notice something? Actually, you wouldn't. For my longtime viewers, the people who have known me for a really long time, you notice that I stopped being detailed about my sex life and about my private life? It's because I'm really in love. I really respect my partner. I'm not about to get on the internet and start talking about our sex life. I never knew the difference, but when I was in my previous relationships, we would openly talk about those things. And I realized, oh my God, like it's like a disrespect thing. Like I don't respect my partner. I don't respect. And like we make a concerted effort to like be very respectful about intimacy. Our bodies are, you know, and yeah, that's a huge change in the content that I make. Is in the way that I show up and the way that I talk on stream. And I never realized what it was until I really respected my partner and married somebody that I really like and somebody that I knew I would be with forever. Versus in my toxic relationships, you know, it always felt like I understand, like, you know, that idea, like you shouldn't be in competition with your partner. It wasn't until I got out of my toxic relationship and went to therapy and did my work that I really understood that my partner was in competition with me. Well, I guess I realized that a little bit because he had told me one time, like, unless I make more money than you, you'll never respect me. But you guys know my partner doesn't work. You know that's not anything I've ever cared about. But when I was dating these men, especially men, specifically women, all the women I dated they always worked. They were always very successful. But the men I dated were not successful, which is interesting. I wondered what that is. Why did I only date women that were successful, but I always dated men that weren't? What's that about? I got to deconstruct that. Anyway. Once I dated this, I kind of did it again too. Wait. Gender fluidity is playing a role in this, but I kind of did it again too, where the requirement for this partner is they could hold down a job and pay their rent and their bills and be responsible and independent. But was that because, anyways, there's a lot there to deconstruct. But anyways, I don't care if my partner makes more money than me or any money. What I care about is that, like, we respect each other. We're here for the same reason. We're on the same page. You know what I mean? Like, I respect you. You respect me. And like I said, like, listen, I have a lot of heat for my parents, but I respect them too much to ever disrespect them to their face like that. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up in a culture where like adults are adults and you treat them a certain way. And yes, I think they should earn that treatment. And I also think you should show it in a lot of ways because they have inherently earned it, whether you know it or not. Not because they're old and not because they're your parents, but because they showed up. They did do it. My parents did the thing. They did the thing enough to earn it. And I'm saying, I don't know if this group of people is going to do that. I don't know if this group of people will be those 55 and 65-year-old people who will earn the respect of being treated like an elder or like somebody in the community who can be relied on or like an adult, right?
So I think that's what I didn't realize also. And I didn't think I was nearly famous enough to become a meme.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
That is beautiful. Now, with your guys' relationship, like neither of you come from these like loving marriages, right? Is it cool to experience love? Is it what you think of when you see in movies? Like,
yeah.
What is that? I'm curious what that's like. You know, I was very privileged. Like my parents were really in love with each other, and that was kind of my expectation. You guys discovered it for the first time.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was literally talking to my therapist, and I think I was
shout out to therapy. Glad she mentioned that.
Kind of getting tearful because I was thinking about my mom and everything that she went through in her marriage, which obviously wasn't great, and like just immigrating to this country with like 2 little girls and like just so many things that she had to go through that I was like, I feel so bad that she had to live this life, but now I get to live this like beautiful, luxurious, glamorous life with this guy who like treats me like a princess. And then my therapist was like, yeah, but in a way it's so beautiful because you're kind of living like her American dream.
Wow.
So it's like, I really think that for Akash too, because I know that my mother-in-law was also in a similar kind of situation. And I feel like for us, we really got so, lucky to like find each other and find our like soulmates in each other. I wish that my mom, who's like the most amazing lady in the world, could have experienced that. And maybe, she'll kind of experience that like later in this chapter, but yeah.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
That is
beautiful. It's what your parents sacrificed so you guys can have this kind of
exactly,
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
see this bubble of like we sacrifice so you could have a better life than us. But you ever come from the bubble where they're kind of mad your life is easier and you're like, the fuck? I thought you wanted us to have an easier life. And they're like, well, I wanted it to look different. I wanted it to be more capitalistic or make more money or look a certain way. But also, I assume they're paying for their parents. I'm assuming they're paying their parents back, helping their moms out, giving their mom love, So it is kind of like there's a lot here that needs to be deconstructed, but I'm not that surprised that this is their relationship. Like, honestly, all the people hating on them are hating on them for the wrong reasons.
Really, like, again, I think that's it. She actually realized it faster than I did, but now I'm like, oh, that's my soulmate. So again, the jokes don't bother me.
Like, if they're in love, they're in love. Like, do I think if they were both healthy at the time of meeting, they would have been together? No. And this is why I say you can go from a low compatibility to a toxic relationship to a healthy one. Do I think this is it? I don't know. Right? But I think if they were both healthy at the time they met, they would have dated. And that's what's interesting about life. If I wouldn't have been with you had I been healthy, are you my soulmate? Are you my high compatibility partner? I've been really thinking about this too, because I do think so. Like, guys, we are just biological creatures. So high compatibility partner is not something magical. It's data driven, okay? I'm not talking about woo-woo stuff. So I do think you can have high compatibility with like your first cousin. Do I think you would if you were healthy? No. But I do think you could do it if you were unhealthy. And I say that because my whole family is like first cousins. And so like, I think about that all the time. Like, I look at the people in my aunties and uncles and I look at my family legacy. I look at my grandparents and I'm like, what is this? What's happening here? Okay. Child marriages. My grandma was married at 10 years old. Like, I think about my family legacy and I'm like, what is happening here? Are you just people who did your best with what you had? Is this like, if you were different people and actually given a choice and born into different families, would you have been these people? No. Like, we don't have as much free will as we think. So ultimately, like, when we look at our lives, like, none of us would be these people had we been anybody else. None of us would have been these people had we been born into different families. None of us would have been us. Like, so people sometimes ask me, like, Brittany, if you were born in Iraq, if your parents never immigrated, do you think you would have been the same person? How would I have been the same person? How, in any metric of measurement, could I have been the same person? Like, how? How? Like, how? I don't even know, right? Yeah, Chet said bubble pop, that you can find a high compatibility partner even when you're unhealthy and toxic. Well, that's what's scary. I mean, that's why toxic people stay together for 50 years, because they're like, I can't, who's a good example? Ozzy Osbourne and what's her name? High compatibility partners for sure. Unhealthy as fuck. Who else were they going to be together, be with except each other? Sharon and Ozzy, would I love to see them get healthy? Would I love to have seen them get better? Yeah. But they're definitely like, who else were they going to be with? They were obviously made for each other. I just wish they were healthier. I wish they had taken that relationship and gotten better, right? So like, that's the thing. Like, yeah, I see you. I see that you're high compatibility because your values are the same. You have the same outlook. You see each other. That's what high compatibility is, right? But I would love to see, so what happens is you can be high compatibility and you can grow apart. But I think if you're high compatibility, you will either grow healthier or stay the same. But I think like the goal is to be healthy, right? I think that's why people say like, but Brittany, like, I think this is really my person. Okay, are you going to be healthy together or not? And that's the thing is like, you still have to make that decision. Just because you're the love of my life and my high compatibility partner, it doesn't mean I have to be with you. But why wouldn't I be with you? Well, maybe because you chose to be unhealthy, but that's about the only reason, not for something silly like, oh, we lived in different places. What does that have to do with anything? You guys can't move? Or, oh, like I wanted to, but she wanted to go do something else. It's like, I guess, like maybe. I would think more like healthy, unhealthy, but maybe. Because again, I always say like, just because you're in love with someone doesn't mean you have to be with them. Just because they're high compatibility, like even though I do think, and I do believe this, Brittany does believe this, if you're truly high compatibility, being with somebody else doesn't make any sense. Even if it's toxic, because you're probably high compatibility with a toxic person because you're toxic. So being with somebody else doesn't even make sense because like this is the person you're high compatibility with. And I understand that doesn't make any sense because you're probably thinking of all these scenarios in your head of like what that looks like. But I think the difference is like you're still individuals. So maybe your high compatibility, and this is so difficult because I know human beings. So I think of real people when I think of these things, like what bubble are they in and what would they fall into and like, how would they make this decision? Look, in my family, I always said, I understand first cousins worked for all of you people. Can we please not continue that? And then my first cousin ended up marrying my second cousin. And I was like, why'd you do this? We're in love. And I was like, you grew up together. But their parents are cousins, so they figure, why not? And I'm like, was this necessary? And I know it's not that weird. Like, I follow enough Arab podcasts. We all talk about it. Like, do we have to continue this tradition? And so that's the question. Like, can you be high compatibility, right, with your first cousin? I mean, technically, do we need to pursue this, though? Is this really necessary? And that's the problem where I do think we're evolved animals on a planet. So I think biologically, like, there is just, like, we're having an experience, and, like, maybe it's possible, but, like, do you need to pursue it? Or if you deconstructed and got healthier, would the compatibility then change? And this is why in marriages you separate and you fall out of love because somebody's deconstructing and getting healthier. Okay? Deconstructing and getting healthier. So the marriage dissolves. So if you were healthy from day one, would you marry your first cousin? Probably not. Okay? Probably not. Chez said his first cousin relationship's illegal. Not everywhere. It's legal in a lot of places, you know? So it's like, it's interesting, right? Chez says a lot of first cousin marriages cause a lot of genetic problems down the line if they have kids. Well, here's the funny part. My whole family tree is like basically first cousins, and nobody has like physical disabilities, but everyone's autistic, ADHD, BPD, depressed, mental health up the ass. So like it might not be visual, but it's there. And so like that's the question. Is this from the first cousin marriages? Or is this from something else? Because like we all need therapy. But that's the question. You know, that's the question.
Know what's happening and go buy I like encourage her to buy stuff early on because I remember.
You gotta cut that shit.
I know, that may be. But early on, dude, and you didn't go through this.
Chill out.
Being broke with your girl and not being able to buy her anything is so fucking emasculating that when we started making
listen to that.
Being broke with your girl and not being able to buy her anything.
When you're broke with your girl and you can't buy her anything, it's emasculating. Versus we as a team, we love each other. I just love being with you. I'm so excited to be with you. Like, oh my God, we can't afford this right now, but I'm so proud of us for being responsible. I'm so proud of us for getting on top of it and focusing on our finances. I'm so excited for us that we are making an investment in our future. Like, this is what I'm saying. Don't buy me gifts, girl. Let's save for a house. You know what I mean? Don't worry about buying me stuff. What does that have to do with your masculinity? But again, that's why I say gender does not play a role in my relationship. Gender does not play a role in my relationship. Gender does not play a role in my relationship. So there's no emasculation. There's no ability. You cannot emasculate me in this relationship. You cannot, you know what I'm saying? How would that even play a role when it doesn't even matter in our relationship? Why is this a thing in your relationship? Who cares? Because that's the way they have a relationship with their gender. But I think you should deconstruct it.
Is so fucking emasculating that when we started making a little bit, we saved for years.
These guys are
And when she was like, I don't know if we can afford this, we can
Are
afford
these guys literally going to stand behind them the whole time?
this. I'm like, no, I promise we're safe. She was more anxious for a long time. I was like, no, this is like, I think even therapeutic for you, for us. Like,
I
go
feel like,
spend
yeah,
that.
it would almost like teach me like a little bit of exposure therapy. I mean, now probably not, but like in
No,
the
definitely
beginning.
not.
Yeah, it's probably like, oh, it teaches your brain like, okay, this is safe. I can do this activity. Like just like how posting on TikTok was and like whatever else. But I mean, now, yeah.
But it is interesting that you're going to have a different relationship, you know, to the money that Akash makes when you guys were locked in before you had anything.
Yeah.
You know, and you will feel more part of that journey with him.
Yeah.
Than like if Akash is this fucking multimillionaire and then he like finds you and then you have that attitude. But what the internet just sees is a completely different picture, which is like, okay, he's got this beautiful girl and she like buying bags and that's what the thing
No,
is.
optically, it makes sense that she would be a gold digger. She's much hotter than me. She has
No,
nice
stop
face.
saying that. You're fine, bro.
Yo, you're the prize.
You're
Okay.
the prize,
You're the
man.
prize.
I look decent with a shirt on.
We just said, anyway, listen.
In the interest of turning all the stones, can you dispel a rumor? I heard a narrative online that you guys were together and then you took a break for like 2 years and then when you started making money, you came back. Can you dispel this?
No, we took a break for like a month or 2 months.
After I started making money, post Patreon. What an idiot.
Who leaves my son? He had a different confidence when he was with right? Yeah, he was telling you to shut up more.
No, I get 12 shut the fuck ups a year.
Oh, that's the rule?
Yeah.
That's a great deal.
I got 8 left. Happy holidays.
I hate this bubble. I hate it. She's isolated. She's alone. She's on the couch alone. Like, she's laughing with them. But these men don't respect women. They don't think women are like in the joke. It is, I think it's coming at her expense.
All right. I feel like we've done a pretty good job here.
Listen,
You know why? Because she's not a boy. If she was a boy, it wouldn't be at her expense. And I mean a girl who's a boy. But she's a girl who's a girl, right? I know she's engaging with them, but she's still a girl who's a girl. They don't see her as a boy. So like she's not in the joke. They're not on her side making fun of him. They're on his side making fun of her, you know?
You guys, I mean, obviously,
Love
it's
you
not
guys.
what you know. What,
Yeah, she's playing the cool girl role. Exactly, Discord. She's like, I'm Kristen Bell. I'm like cool with it. Haha, fart jokes, sex jokes.
happened. But I hope every.
And it's separate from being a pick-me, which is a real phenomenon. Because I don't think she's being a pick-me so far. I haven't seen any pick-me. I've only seen cool girl.
Everybody who watches, I mean, the internet is going to do whatever the fuck the internet wants to do. But I hope if anybody actually does watch, they get a better idea of your guys' relationship. And I hope you go.
Because notice she isn't throwing women under the bus to sound better. Like, fuck those girls, they don't know anything. She's talking shit on men and praising women.
Moving forward, you understand how different your guys' relationship is from most people.
Yeah,
and like, so
Yeah, chat, you're so right. Their relationship dynamics between Akash and his wife, eccentric. It's a combo of outdated and modern. She doesn't get bored sitting around, no career. Well, she has a career now, but yeah, like it is modern and updated, which is why it's weird. It's outdated, but like it is modern. Like I think you're right there that there's like a weirdness to it that's confusing for people, which is why I say like they're not red pill or traditional. They're like liberals who vote for Trump, but they're capitalists, right? And so that's the thing, right? Chesa, do you think she's in the process of bursting out of that bubble? No, I don't think these people, I think they're two kids from immigrant backgrounds with bad marriages who became wealthier than anybody in their family and they're having fun. I think they're like two grown kids who are in their 30s and 40s having fun. And I don't think they are in any way thinking about being elders in the community, being Uncle Iros, being wise people. They are just focused on the fuck. Like they're going to go to Dubai and buy a handbag. They are big kids with a lot of money. I mean, adulthood is high school with money. And they're just like, they went from the nerd table to the popular table and they're eating it up. They're just having fun. They're not thinking about the impacts on the planet, the impacts on their, what the product they're putting out to the internet. You know what I mean? They don't care about people having economical hardships right now. They're not, you know what I mean? These people are just in it for the lulz.
sometimes the reaction, not every reaction is, oh, they're completely off.
Right.
They're just
reflecting what they would be in a relationship and going, oh, I would feel
It's their
uncomfortable.
experience and our experience is abnormal.
Some guys are bad actors, obviously, and then some people are going, what the hell is going on with this? Like, I love Akash. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I'm stoked that you guys got to.
You know what's funny is one time Abram Preach made a video where they're like, you can't have a traditional guy who's also a liberal, but that's actually what Andrew and Akash are. And I said, yes, you can. Liberal men are traditional guys with like who sometimes vote Republican. But yeah, this is like liberal men who make the money and still want to buy their girls dinner and be the main provider, but they're not like traditionalists or religious people or fresh and fit, right? Yeah, you can. This is them. That's funny because Abba's friends with Andrew, so he should know. But that's what this is.
Come on, and you know, I wish you well. I'm betting on you guys staying together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So for 2027, I got money on that.
I'm gonna throw that.
What odds?
Okay, so basically, look, with peace and love, right? I know somebody mentioned that some of the stories she talked about, like her bottom hurting after being with a guy, that it might have been sexual assault. I don't know where that is in this podcast, but I will just say, like, I'm so sorry that happened. That sounds horrible and very common for a lot of people. And I'm so sorry that happened to her. And I will say that overall, I don't think this is the healthiest bubble, but I can see why they're all, quote, happy in this bubble and spending time together and engaging in hardcore capitalism and not giving a fuck about anything else, because in their bubble, in their world, everything is fantastic and everyone's happy and everyone's thriving and everyone's successful. And this is their dream. This is their American dream. So, like I said, not my favorite bubble, but also like kind of none of my business to an extent. Like, I don't mean that literally because I just I was so critical about their relationship this whole time. But not my bubble, girl. I'm too queer and too deconstructed, and just like gender doesn't even come into the equation in my relationship this way. Like, we just never talk about this shit. We never talk who's proposing and who's not proposing and who's buying the rings and who's doing this. Girl, please, you're giving me a headache. The straight people, their dynamics give me a literal headache. I literally get so stressed thinking about it. I get so stressed.